And boom. Welcome to Rambo and Frens. My name is Joe Rambo. I am your host, but the friends are going to have all the excitement today. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. In case you aren't aware, it is T-0. As far as the art of date faggotry is concerned, it is T-0. I am super excited to have these guys share more of their theory as time has run out. So with that being said, let's just get right into welcoming these gentlemen. And you do have a surprise guest today that I'm really excited about, but let's do it.
I wouldn't miss a chance to talk to my friends. These are my friends.
Still my favorite clip on the internet. Welcome, friends. Let's go right around the horn. Let's do Phil first. How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you again.
It's good to be back, Joe. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. It's exciting. When you asked, I was like, heck yeah, you kidding me? I'm trying to get you on forever. So yeah. Love you, Phil. I love what you do, and I love your website, bro. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's by far my favorite aggregator site that there is. It's the one. It's my go-to. The search tools that you have on that website blow my mind, and I'm always excited whenever I see you on X. Right, whenever we cross paths, I always share because you mean the world to me, buddy. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's bring on these two lunatics. Smart Paul and JFanon. Paul, you want to go first, buddy? How you doing, dude?
I'm still alive, but I feel very stoned, and it's not because I'm intentionally ingesting anything. It's just something we have to endure.
I love that you believe that. I've been paying attention every day to see if I feel that way. I think it's harder for me because I work swing shift. I always feel like that. That and like I used to do really hard drugs, so I don't know when I just feel like a little inebriated. I have to feel all the way inebriated, you know what I mean? But
They've ramped it up slowly. It's been over a year, so nobody noticed.
We're supposed to not notice, right? Would that be the point?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this a year ago. I was saying they're going to do this really slowly. And they did, and now it's gotten to the point where John and I are having conversations going, man, this is like borderline medically dangerous. You can see the cars on the freeway just weaving around and shit. Everybody's driving really slow going, I
shouldn't tell this story. Oh, no. There was a point in my life where I would be, stuck using chemicals. And I would literally take my phone out to try to film the things I saw moving in my bedroom for hours. I filmed a towel moving across a bar in my closet for hours. And so much, I believed it so much so that I went back and watched that hours-long video to see if I was right.
Yeah. By the way, Hunter S. Thompson books are awesome. If you ever want to know what it's like to be completely whacked out of your mind, read some Hunter S. Thompson.
I don't miss that guy. How you doing, JFanon?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's Friday. It's a beautiful day. It's like 70 degrees here. I had a fire last night. It's the best time.
Well, JFU, because we got a tornado watch outside of mine.
JFU. That sucks. I hope we can do the show.
No, that's actually the truth. I ran to get gas this morning because I got to take my son to go do some physical stuff afterwards. And I walk in and Lee's like, there's another alert. We got 20 more minutes. They see things spinning downtown. What are you talking about? Literal tornado watch right now in my neighborhood. So.
Yeesh.
That's not good.
Yeah, whatever.
Well,
all right. Well,
you're not in Kansas. That's the weird thing.
I know, right? That's what I said to her when I left. I was like, "There's no place like home," and I just left.
Mr. Blunder.
All right. Well, today's show is going to be awesome, and I'm super excited about getting into it. I do want to take just a minute to first and foremost welcome everybody in here. Look, there's too many of you to say hello to, but I see you, Cody Pont. I see you in there, QAG, Puggy's number. Aaron's Pauling, love you. I'll see you on other shows. Legendnet, you're gonna have to tell me how to pronounce that someday. We're becoming close friends throughout these shows, but I see it all on there. Onward Truth, F Plan, DC Derek, Sapioplex, that's you. MAGA collection. I see you all out there. If I missed anybody, it wasn't on purpose, but just for the sake of time, do me a favor. No matter what platform you're on, if you enjoy this show and you enjoy the content that we're bringing, as we've had many amazing guests on the last week. Look, if you guys missed it, please go watch General Quast. That show was amazing. If you missed yesterday's show with Stormy Patriot Joe and Absolute 1776, please go watch it. I'm glad that you are all here because these three gentlemen are three of my favorites, and I'm sure we'll be having back two of my other favorites here very, very shortly in Feisty Cat and SSG. And if you could see my list of people that I have wanting to come on and that I want to come on, you are not going to miss what's coming as far as Rambo and Frens is concerned. So with that being said, I want to take just a minute and say thank you to the people that are supporting this show, all Patriots. I think I said this yesterday, but there has been multiple sponsors that have reached out to this show, some of which I have said no to. I am not going to accept sponsorship on this show unless they are Patriots, first and foremost, and unless I agree with what they're doing. So with that being said, all three right now that are signed on to the show and one that is coming very, very shortly are exactly that, Patriots through and through. So, of course, Mike Lindell, if you guys want to support the show, please, by all means, go to mypillow.com and use promo code Rambo. He jumped right on board. He was the first one to support the show from, I think it was episode 3. He was already sponsoring the show. So I love Mike Lindell. I think he had a very important role in this process that we're going through. And my house is full of his products. I think yours should be too. And then kofefi.coffee. You go on there, you're going to find some of the most amazing Patriots you're going to ever see out there, Anons and Patriots. Of course, I hope that you buy a bag of Rambo roast for yourself, but I highly suggest that you support anybody on that project. And then the newest one, I'm actually going to play a video off of the website. This, there's already been like 11 of you, I think, in this family that have jumped on board and tried this product before I even got mine in the mail. So for that, I'm super grateful. I believe in what Patrick's doing. He thinks that he's legitimately changing lives. And as soon as mine gets here, I'm going to tell you what I think as far as that's concerned. But I don't doubt that he's being 100% genuine as the dude is a patriot. So let's check this video. This is off of their website, Epic Minerals. And I will drop the link that you can use, which is also, I believe, just a promo code Rambo if you're going to go to Epic Minerals and support this cause too. So here's the video.
Epic Minerals are life-changing products that improve energy, mineralize and detoxify living tissue, and generally improve your overall health. Our humic and fulvic acids act as a nutrient delivery system. Most nutrients ingested are deposited into the bloodstream, but it's a hit or miss as to whether your tissues will actually absorb them. Imagine humic acid is a freight train holding over 70 trace minerals the body needs to function. Through our proprietary extraction process, we add zeolite and other ingredients. It holds trace minerals as well as the powerful nutrients we added to the train. Now imagine that fulvic acid is the train's engineer, driving those nutrients into living tissue. Fulvic acid is also a powerful detoxifier. It binds to heavy metals and other toxins in our tissues. Those toxins and Heavy metals are then allowed to pass harmlessly from the body as normal waste products. This leaves tissues and organs able to work at maximum efficiency like they did when they were young. We experience these improvements in the form of greater energy and feelings of youthfulness and well-being.
Boom. Listen, they've got some amazing products. Actually, I don't want to quite get off it yet. Let me just run through the website real quick. There's only a few products to check out. So you got your natural handmade soap collection. I can't wait to get this one. This wasn't in the package that I got, but I will be purchasing this myself. I gave away a bottle of Rainfall just 2 days ago, 2 shows ago. This bottle of Rainfall, I can't wait to hear reports back on how it is. But the Zeolite Extra with Volvic and humic acid spray, I highly encourage everybody to check out all these products. Everything that I've gotten back so far as reports has been nothing but positive. So thank you guys for letting me do that quick. I don't want to forget the people that are reaching out to support what we're all doing. So thank you for letting me do that.
Patrick Gunnels is a great guy, by the way.
Right. I know. Well, so here's my thing on Patrick. I love the dude. He's, in my opinion, this is the best way I could describe it. He's a lovable asshole, right? Like, you don't care what you think about him. And I love that about him. I love it about him, right? He'll tell you what he thinks. And if you don't like it, whatever, go F yourself, right? I love that about that dude. It's really cool. I can't wait to have him on. So.
Yeah, no, he's a great dude, and I think of him just as really passionate about his ideas.
Yes, yeah, that's a nicer way of saying it. Anyway, all right. Well, today is T-0. Do you guys want to first and foremost, because I think there's more. We had a lot of subscribers join Rambo and Frens since the last time you were on here. Do you want to just recap what it is that you believe is going to happen before you get into the details of why it's maybe changed a little bit or where your head's at right now?
Sure. Last week we posited we've been talking about this for how many days, Paul? 20 days?
Yeah, that's about 3 weeks. We've been counting down because we found a pattern, and we made a prediction that we thought Trump was going to come out today and say he was still president. Since then, what, about 5 days ago or so?
Yeah. Yep.
We came up, and I think, John, I think you deserve all the credit for this scenario. We found another scenario that is so much better. It basically is almost the same sort of scenario, but the way it happens is different and completely out of left field, and it solves more problems and ends up with a far better result. So how do we want to explain this?
Well, maybe the highest, toppest, tippy top level is that we think that it'll happen tonight at 9 o'clock. There's a Q post on 8/9 that says "Comfy, preview's over, showtime." It's not just because of that drop. We were seeing other patterns, but the high level is that we think Biden will come out tonight and resign. We think it's likely that there'll be some constitutional crisis as a result. There's a lot of, we'll get into details about why that is. That the situation will put the United States into 100% uncharted waters.
A little bit of turmoil.
Just a bit. Buckle up, or seat backs up and tray tables, seat backs forward. Well, I'm not a flight attendant, so fuck it, I won't try it. But anyway, that there be a huge constitutional crisis that ends up getting solved with the military stepping in in a purely caretaker role, and then the military running the elections. By the way,
John, I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, but Nixon resigned 50 years ago yesterday.
That's interesting. Huh.
Think of the name Nixon. Nix. Egyptian god Nix. So,
get your Nix on.
Hold on, guys. I'm gonna show. Hold on. Let me make it so that we're all on screen. I'm gonna show what you were talking about. This is the post, right? And this is a delta for today.
Yeah.
So enjoy.
We're all watching a movie.
So this is literally today's delta on qag.news. Love this website. Thank you, Phil. Comfy, previews are over, showtime, Q. And here's the video.
Look at this time of day.
All right.
Yeah, look at the time
Sorry.
of day of that post. It was at 8:39, I think.
8:57.
8:57. So basically 9 p.m. Eastern, which is the perfect time to announce something important to the U.S. population because it's 6 p.m. Pacific. So everybody's awake and everybody's doing things like watching TV.
And it's also, I've noticed this because of posting on X. It's a good in between because we're all in different time zones. So 9 p.m. is good on the
Yeah,
East because it's 6 and 5 o'clock when people are ending work on the West. Okay.
Do you want us to get into the details of this?
Yeah, Phil, do you have any questions for me yet, buddy?
No, I don't. I actually fell asleep. Sorry.
Yeah, we did it.
You missed the opportunity, Phil, to
I
wait till I
know.
was drinking, because I would have spit it out for sure.
This isn't weird.
Go
Um,
ahead. Yeah, let's start the details.
All right. Well, I'm sharing a screen right now. This, when Trump truthed this in 8/6, so a couple days ago, Paul and I had already been talking about this, possibly Biden coming out and doing a resignation, but this was like, whoa. So if you read it, I'm not going to be pedantic, but basically at the last two sentences, he feels he made a historically tragic mistake by handing over the U.S. presidency to the people in the world he most hates. So that gave us like a boost in terms of like, whoa, that's really, really interesting.
Well, and also, how does Trump know this?
Right.
Has Biden been communicating with Trump? We think that's possible. We don't. By the way, all of these scenarios that we're talking about as far as fallout from what we think is going to happen tonight, we have no idea exactly how they're going to roll this out. But we know from a macro view that this will end up solving all the problems.
Yeah.
Hold on. I want to interject with this, okay? Because date fagging is severely frowned upon within this movement. The reason that I am okay 117% with what it is that you guys do is because you're not claiming to have an inside source. This is legitimately a pair of brilliant minds that have gone back through history, that have gone through the current drops and have looked not as much, really, honestly, as a lot of people have, but some of the current events. You guys kind of don't like to get lost in the current events, am I right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what they're telling you right now is what they have come to a conclusion with using their own discernment. In no way, shape, or form are they telling you that this is a 100% chance this is going to happen.
Correct.
What they're telling you is that this is what they believe with what they see. So if you're able to take that into account, you will first and foremost not be mad at them if and when they could potentially be wrong, as it's happened before. But you will also understand that it is a mental exercise about
You're muffled.
process. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're muffled.
Son of a bitch.
You might want to repeat that.
You're okay. You're okay now.
Yeah.
What it is a mental exercise in using your brain to potentially try to see what might be coming. And I think that it's very possible because I believe we're watching a show. So this would be just like any book club, right? It's going through a book and reading, and they're going and discussing what it was they read and what they think might be coming. That is, I think, the way that you guys are looking at this. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The
Yeah.
thing that I respect and love about you guys most is that you do it fearlessly and you do it with an insane amount of research, right? So I take what you say very seriously. I just want to emphasize that there's no one on this show telling you that 100% that they're right. This is just what they've come to the conclusion of through their research. No inside sources.
Yeah. We're essentially reading tea leaves from stuff that happened 400 years ago to now.
I'm glad you said that, Joe and Paul, because I mean, truly, we don't know if we're right, but this is what we're seeing. And this is the kind of stuff that when Paul and I sit and talk about things, this is where you go. Why? Because your frontal lobes are made for prediction. I get in my truck, to drive to work, I'm predicting I'm going to get there alive. Because if I was predicting I might get in an accident, I wouldn't leave. You spend your life predicting things. And
that's really the only utility of your frontal lobes. Also, like, God, I really got to point this out. Why is date fagging frowned upon? And if you think it through, it's because people want to protect their reputation. So they are afraid of being wrong. Well, that's just ego. Mm-hmm. Stop being so full of yourself and be willing to be wrong. That's how you learn the best lessons.
I'll tell you another reason, though, Paul. There's another reason. Some accounts grow very large followings. And when you say something as it's matter of fact, or you say it as if you know something that everyone else doesn't, because you were told something that was super secret, like you have a connection within 4POG or whatever it might be, right? You know Q team, right? Some of all this bullshit that we've heard before.
Or if you are the Q team,
right. So people take it like as if it's a fact, right. And when it fails and falls on its face miserably, it then, Phil Godlewski. Sorry, I'll call a name out, but like, you know what I'm saying, right? So if you sit here and you tell everyone, I know I'm talking in freaking code, purple, green, whatever the hell, I've seen some of those rants, unbelievable, but people will buy that as if it's reality. And then when it falls flat on its face, even after 117 consecutive times, they're still buying it as if this person's telling you the truth. It can hurt the movement, right? It can take and discredit everyone because somebody told you tribunals or med beds or whatever it might be. So I just want to differentiate between guys that are doing research and using their own discernment to try to predict what might be coming, than guys that are telling you, I know because Sergeant Slaughter told me the truth or whatever.
I do have a rebuttal to that, by the way.
Go ahead.
Because I think one of the big structural designs of what we're going through is designed to encourage people to follow false information in order to burn them so that they learn not to do that. And when you look at all the pundits out there, they're all putting out 80 or 90% good information and then 10 or 20% BS. How's that possible? How is it possible that nobody is right about everything? They're teaching everybody. Q said, be careful who you follow. Why? Why did Q stress that? You know why? Because Q's burning everybody.
It's true.
I would also make the distinction, too, that the people like Fildo, they... Look, he's lying and he's grifting. He's asking for money. He claims to have inside information.
He claims he's on the Q team.
Yeah, really? Anyway, we don't need to waste any more oxygen on that guy. But think about this for a minute, though. There are guys out there that have their thing that they're known for, and they are saying beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what this means. This is happening. And when Paul and I are saying it, we might phrase it like that, but we also say, well, we could be wrong. If you look at the tweet, my replies to people, and even my posts about this countdown we've been doing for the last 10 days, we're probably wrong. If past history is any predictor of future performance, we're probably going to be wrong on this. But we're not wrong because we're trying to get followers. We're not wrong, or we're not doing this because we're trying to get followers.
Bring it on, man.
Phil Godlewski. Georgia Magazine's a whole another can of worms. Bunch of grifting fucks. But anyway, oops. The thing that I think about, though, is that we are actually trying to make and reason through this with what we actually see is happening. So we're not just making wild claims because, I know, we'll do a show on Rambo and let's just claim something really outrageous.
Yeah, if we said this, we'd get another 500 followers. We don't make a dime. We have never made a dime off of any of it. In fact, John and I lost a shitload by doing all this. Yeah,
all the time. But anyway, so that's a fair point. There are people out there that are making predictions. and they're saying this is from an inside source. And you know what? By the way, subscribe to my channel, buy me a coffee. Yeah, we're not doing that. That's not our goal. Is not followers. If you guys unfollow me, fine. I don't care.
Yeah, that's the big difference. That's the big differentiation I want to make. I'll say just one more time because I want to hear what you guys have come up with. But the difference is no one is telling you that they know anything secret. What they've done is they've open sourced their research. They have done a ton of it, and they are giving you their opinion on what they see. That is it, right?
Yeah.
And I love you guys for it. Love you guys.
Yeah. Also, when I see someone out there who is claiming to have inside information, or someone who is talking about things that are essentially classified and they're not in prison, I think to myself, there's no way that can be real. That's just a narrative somebody's putting out. I don't know exactly how that's structured, but I'm going to suspect the crap out of it, because if you know secret shit, you don't talk about it. So anybody out there who's talking about secret, new technology and stuff, like, beware, watch out.
All right, hold on. We got to make sure Phil's awake. Phil, you awake, buddy?
Yeah, I'm awake.
All right.
Yeah, well, I'm awake. I'm there.
No, I do the same thing with Q drop. I mean, people ask my opinion on a variety of Q drops all the time, and I always couch it in, I don't know. This is my take. This is how I look at it, at least right now, because it's like, as we've gone through this shit show, opinions have changed on various drops because we have more information now. It's the news unlocks thing. I'm always willing to say I'm wrong, because I know tomorrow some news or something could come out that's going to change the entire structure of how we see it. So I'm in the same boat as these two, and I don't care if I get followers or not. I really don't. I'm not in it for followers. I mean, right now, what I'm doing with my account is I'm trying to point out to people, hey, there is a bunch of shit going on right now. I mean, there's a bunch of pedos and all kinds of other creepy assholes out there getting caught right now. And the big highlight from yesterday that, like, a lot of people just really haven't picked up yet is a bunch of Smartmatic people got arrested yesterday, or convicted. I forget which it was.
Yeah, indicted.
There we go.
Smartmatic, yeah.
So I mean, it's a constantly running thing, and it's like, I even argue, I tried not to do this publicly, but it's like I disagree with, like, Paul and Stormy Joe on the 2022 drops. But I minimize that because it's like I'm not here to try and cause division. It's just that's my opinion, and I state it as such. So it's very we got to be careful, and like I said, and like Paul was saying, anybody talking in absolutes or they have inside information, they have to be considered suspect. Otherwise, they should absolutely be in jail. No question on that.
That's a brilliant point to bring up with those.
Throw them in the brig.
With those Q drops, because first of all, I think those two are freaking brilliant. Point blank, period, end of story. I also think you're brilliant, Phil. And I also think that you and those two and everyone on this screen right now has the same ultimate goal. And that is taking back this country, freedom.
Yep.
So disagreeing on something doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah. Well, and also people need to learn to stop hitching their emotional horse to something that they hope happens. And this gets back to approaching everything very cold and rationally. People aren't used to thinking about all of the data that they're getting and coming up with a prediction about the future that might really hurt their sensibilities. This is why people ignore evidence, is because they look at evidence and the consequences of the evidence might mean that you have to change a closely held belief, because it's just been pointed out that your closely held belief is not possible. And so instead, people will just go, la, 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 this is what I believe. That's not true. That's really bad if you expect to learn and understand what's actually going on around you.
Do you think, though, that this just occurred to me? I wonder if some of these guys that are claiming, again, I'll say Fildo's name again, but not just him. There's other guys that claim to be on the Q team. What's that guy's name? Steinfart?
Yeah, Austin Steinlarp.
Steinfart.
I almost spit my drink out.
but it's guys like that, because they have people that follow him and believe him. Maybe when this whole thing blows up, those people that were doing that, maybe they'll learn a lesson. I hope that's part of why they have these followings. That
I think that's part of the psyop, is to get people burned so many times that they stop jumping to conclusions.
Yep.
I want to add to this. I want to get back to what you were pointing out, John. For me, it's not the first time I've said this. I consider myself a second generation Anon, right? I wasn't live on the boards. I just wasn't. That wasn't part of my process. I was getting through addiction at the time that happened. And if it wasn't for my dad telling everybody in the room, as everybody knows that watches his show, for everyone to go vote for Donald Trump, I might not be right here right now. It was that moment in my life that God changed everything. That being said, I spent a lot of time watching. I watched Phil. I watched Charlie Ward. I watched, 107. I watched Negative 48. I know every single podcast there is, because before I put my name out there as somebody that also wanted to be a quote unquote digital soldier and give my opinions on what I was seeing, I took it all in. And I watched some of them fairly religiously in the beginning of my process. I say my process for a reason. I think that we all have our own. And it took listening to all of that information to start to be able to use my own discernment. And I think that there's a healthy process about that. And it might also be intentional, because once you realize that what we have been sold is a bag of shit lies from every angle, the schooling system, Hollywood, government, right? We can run right down. Then you have a tendency to swing really far to the other side of that pendulum and want to hear people that are being sold as truth tellers tell you what would be the extreme opposite and hopeful propaganda. And then you start to settle somewhere in the middle where you start to have to really pick through and weed through what you're hearing to find what you believe to be true. And that's why some of us disagree. We're in different parts of our process. And as long as you realize that God's in full control and that we need to all stand together to fix this whole thing, then all of the rest should be conversation amongst friends. That's it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm putting in the chat. I'm doing the Navy SEAL copy pasta.
I actually on the cue boards got the nickname of Navy SEAL Anon because I kept posting that to people. But yeah, I mean,
Pluggy, it's a joke. It's a joke. It was a thing on the boards.
Yeah, I've watched thousands of hours of Charlie Ward and all of them. And I don't need to say the names, but even Phil Godlewski and all that stuff. But I very quickly realized that a bunch of the stuff they were saying was BS. And then I started thinking, why? Why do these high follower accounts, why are they all spraying this stuff? So I started analyzing them and comparing them. And that's where I determined that 80 or 90% of what all of them are saying is correct. And 10 to 20% appears to be intentionally wrong. And they all have different personalities. You know, Simon Parks is a totally different type of person than Charlie Ward or Phil Godlewski, or, you know, pick your pundit, right? There are very few that don't have exactly the same pattern. General Flynn is one of them. Trump is one of them. Kash Patel is another one. They don't fit the same mold as the online podcast pundits. But all the online podcast pundits that I've seen fit the same mold. So that's how I came to my conclusions about the structure of the PSYOP, that part of it.
I want to go back to something you were bringing up, John, before we went off on this tangent. You talked about how is it that Donald Trump could know that Joe Biden potentially wants his seat as king back, right? Oh, was that you, Paul?
Yeah.
Either way, it's not just Trump that said it.
Yeah, Trump has also said that he knows a lot of people in D.C. I saw him say that at his recent press conference, where he says, "Oh, you know, I know this stuff because I know a lot of people." So what he's doing is implying that somebody told him. But if the deep state has the power they do, how does that ever get to your political opponent?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Go ahead, Phil. What were you going to say?
I was just agreeing.
Yeah. So Scavino, who is basically Donald Trump's best friend, right? For lack of a better description, a right-hand man stuck to his hip there all the time, also amplified this message. When I screenshotted this, it had 445,000 views. That was yesterday. So people are seeing this, and it's coming out of Donald Trump's camp. So you're right. How does he know? Because honestly, CNN is not saying it.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, watching the messaging and watching the events is what drove us to change our theory about this countdown from Trump coming out and revealing everything to Biden, because Biden dropped out of the race. And then John and I immediately said, well, that changes the optics on everything having to do with Biden. And what emerged out of it was John said, what if Biden does this? And we kicked it around and realized that, oh yeah, that's way better than Trump. There's still a lot of technical problems with Trump doing this that don't exist in the Biden scenario. And the Biden scenario is going to be more understandable because it's going to look like he's doing it to save his son's life, potentially, which go back to the Q posts. You know, what wouldn't a father do to protect his son? I don't know if that's exact wording. I don't think it is, but basically there's a Q post, and there you go. They're kind of putting that little thought in your head.
Joe, I got it. I'll share it real quick.
Go ahead.
I had it up for exactly this reason.
I see you guys dropping gold pills over there on pill.net. Thank you very, very much. This goes out to, I believe it was Believer 987-654, Red Gun, Believer, and Patriot of Flight 377. I see you guys throwing gold pills. Thank you very, very much. It means the world to me. I want to say, give a quick shout out while John's pulling that up to all the Red Castles over on Rumble. You Red Castles have no idea. So that supporting every month means the absolute world to me as well. Sorry. Go ahead, John. What do you got?
Well, hey, I was going to, talk about this for a minute, and I want you to highlight a quote or a post on the Rumble chat from Co DuPont. It's, you know what, I can screenshot it.
The only position to trust is the pullout?
No, that's Ben. That's Ben. Ben talking about the pullout method. I prefer the rhythm method myself, but
that's circle one anyway. Co DuPont.
I just don't care anymore.
Co DuPont said, my bio, people's desire to believe the world is as they believe it to be is stronger than their desire to know the truth. That is so true.
For most people, John and I are incredibly masochistic. And so we enjoy the pain of hurting our own belief systems.
I wish you would have chosen a different word. But that's it. That's the thing. And by the way, one thing I wanted to point out too about just all of our predictions, take them with a completely cold, rational grain of salt, because if you're putting hope into what we're saying we believe, we don't have any hope attached to it.
Yeah.
Like this is what we think is going to happen. Well, that'll be cool. If it doesn't happen, oh well. People are in charge of whether they deem something hopium or not. You know, this isn't hopium. This is an educated guess.
Actually, there are big things about what's going on that, from an emotional standpoint, I really don't like. I understand them, but it doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, my emotional response to all this is completely divorced from the analysis.
And that was the biggest lesson I learned in 2020. You know, after the election, and you know, being on a team of people like digging through all the election data, I quickly learned to detach my emotional state from what was going on, because if I had let it run rampant like it wanted to, I would have literally gone insane by the end of 2020. And I'm hoping other people learn the same from 2020, because it's like, especially once the inauguration came around in 2021. I mean, there were so many people crying everywhere. Like, what's going to happen? You know, the country, you know, all is lost. I mean, like almost, you know, mass panic, you know, with a certain group of people. And we're never going to get anywhere if you can't separate your emotional state from the situation at hand.
Yeah, no, I was just John. I was only bringing it down so that we could have this conversation. I want to read that together. Phil, I agree with you. Have you guys had this? also happened to you? I wonder. I think I've talked about it one time before in here, but this is the perfect time to bring it up. I have worked very, very hard at separating my emotions from my critical thought process. Right, protect your mind, control your emotions. Right, I say it all the time. I believe it. I've used it in my relationship at home, right, on a personal level, and it doesn't always go over well because because the other half of this relationship is a female. So females are much more tied to their emotions. Just my experience. I don't know if it's true or it's not, but it seems that way to me. Um, however, it has been very healthy for the relationship because if I was still so tied to my emotions and my decision making, I'm not sure we'd be together. It's just the truth. And I have come to this level. I'm 42 years old and never been married. I'm now engaged, but I'm not yet married. And I had to think about that because as a homeless drug addict struggling with everything personal and emotionally, I was very tied to it. Everything was about how it felt. I took drugs because I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling. Right. I literally did everything because I was uncomfortable in my own skin. And through this process of meeting God and what I like to think is some sort of ascension, look, my opinions will probably change tomorrow, just like your guys' theory has changed since the last time we talked till today. I'm sure my outlook will change tomorrow and the day after that. But I've definitely come to this point where it seems healthy to be able to separate and process emotions because let, let's not act like emotions aren't important. I love her and I love this movement. I love them with everything I have, my heart and soul. However, I have to realize that I'm not always right. And it doesn't always matter if I'm right, even if I am. What matters is the ultimate goal. And that's where the separation of emotion and critical thought becomes so imperative because critical thought can be changed. But when you're emotionally tied to it, you can become angry and shut down, and you will lose the process of critical thought. You'll be telling everybody to go F themselves. You'll be saying libtard. You'll be calling people names. And that, what I've learned, is clouding finding the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It also, context matters. You can be correct in a small context and incorrect in a larger context. So for example, good and bad. Here's a really fundamental philosophical one. Good and bad is not the most efficient way to think about the human species. Life is what's important. And there are lots of trolley test scenarios where you have to sacrifice people for the ultimate good of everything, all life. And that's something that some people just can't get their head around. But the analogy I always use is a chess game. Imagine that your pieces on the board are your children, and you're playing against an opponent whose pieces on the board are their children. You can't win in chess without losing pieces.
And you know that they're going to sacrifice their pieces.
Yeah.
And if you don't do anything, you all die.
Right. So you will lose all of your pieces if you don't sacrifice some.
It's a horror. I mean, when you put it that way, it is really a horrible, terrible choice.
Yeah, that is an incredibly simplified analogy of life. The universe just really doesn't care if you're a trolley test casualty. So try not to be one. But try to understand the entire context.
Stay off the tracks if you can.
Yeah. I like the one that a friend of ours, Mark, posted. It was a trolley test, but there was no switch, and it was just a track with a whole bunch of people on it, and it just said you just have to watch. It's like, ew.
Yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of that, there were trolley tests throughout history, especially in the 20th century, that the white hats knew. The most concrete example I can give is, and this is in the history books. The Allies had broken the Deutscher code, and they had an Enigma machine. So we were intercepting all of their stuff. We knew where their wolf packs were going to be. We knew when certain cities in the UK were going to get bombed. The only times that the Allies were to take evasive action or send up planes to meet would have been if they had gotten the information some other way. Because if all of a sudden Germany starts losing all their wolf packs, Well, they're going to realize their code's been compromised. So they kept that a secret, and they only acted when they had to.
Strategically.
Yeah, strategically. So that was more valuable than trying to save one time. You save a troop ship of 3,000 men. How horrible that must have been for these code breakers to know what was going to happen.
Yeah, the U.S. let warships be attacked and sunk, knowing it was going to happen, because the cost of alerting the Germans to the code having been broken would be far greater than losing those ships.
That is.
I mean, imagine making that decision. And as a commander, you can't tell the ship they're going to be attacked. You just got to watch them die.
That is so hard for people to grasp and so real at the same time.
That's
We've had people say to us on Twitter and things like that. Well, you're saying that the white hats allowed some of this bad stuff to happen. They allowed these children to be abused. They allowed people to die.
Yep.
Yeah. No way.
Make it really simple. Make it really simple for everybody. If you could save 100 people by letting one person die, what would your choice be? If you save that one person, 100 die. And if you let that person die, 100 live. That is the type of decision that the people at the top have to make.
Yep, every day.
Somebody pointed out Pearl Harbor. Mama W, Mama. Pearl Harbor is interesting because I think the narrative level is that, did the U.S. know about it? Yeah. What we believe actually happened.
It gets weirder.
It is much weirder, but we think Emperor Hirohito was part of the White Hat plan. They knew Hirohito would authorize the attack. I did a whole dig on this, and
we think they were breaking the military power of the resisting factions. Let's put it that way.
Yep. When you talk about the Zoids that control the world, we don't need to get into that, but
yeah, basically they needed to disable the Japanese military, the Russian military, and the German military, and they did it by having Germany be a kamikaze essentially in Japan. They both did stupid things to just really mess everything up and reduce the military power of everybody but the United States.
Yeah,
I got to ask you guys this. I got to ask you this because it's such a big event. It's such a huge event, and so much life was lost.
I know what you're.
I have a hard time. What?
I know what you're going to ask.
Well, I have such a hard time. I'm human, right? Just because I preach to separate your emotions and your critical thought, this is a tough one. Do you think? Because I don't know how they couldn't have known. This can be applied to 9/11.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I don't know if the White Hats. I don't know if they allowed it to happen. I don't know if they set it up. That's an even harder thing to realize. We don't know the details. So
also, you also have to question everything you think you know about it. And this is, we've talked about this before. Philosophically, all you really know is that you're conscious. You can think information is real, but everything else is an opinion. Like everything you think you've seen. When you go to a magic show and you see a magician do a trick that looks physically impossible, well, you saw it happen, so it must be physically possible, right? Or are you missing some information? And when you look at 9/11, yeah, there's eyewitnesses that'll swear that all these things happen. You've seen videos of people saying, oh, and you assume that those things must be true. But you also watch action movies where the same shit happens.
So is it going to have to be 13 years later before we can talk for real about the assassination attempt, or what?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Which one, JFK's or Trump's?
Sorry,
or Reagan's?
23 years later. I said 13. 23 years later.
Here's something else for you, Joe, though.
Go ahead, Phil.
I mean, for those that have done any significant biblical study, the Old Testament is riddled with stories of what appears to be massive loss of life. Mm-hmm. And if you look forward, biblically speaking, it was done for a reason. It was done for a greater good, to preserve something for a greater good. Okay, so I don't know if everybody here is a Christian in the chat or whatever, but from a biblical perspective, if you look at it, God literally commanded the Israelites to destroy an entire race. Mm-hmm. Okay, the object lessons were given to us for a reason. Okay, and then in the New Testament, we were told we were given emotions for for a reason, but to not let them rule us. Okay, so if you combine both halves of that, it's like God destroys so many things in the Old Testament, and then tells you, hey, your emotions were given to you as a gift, but not let them rule you. It's very much easy to see how you should divorce yourself of of letting your emotions dictate what can and can't be possible.
Bro, are you AO with a different avatar?
No.
No, I've seen both of them. That is Bill.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's it's what it really comes down to. And I mean, and maybe that's part of what's part of meant to be what's happening for the Great Awakening. It's not just about ascending to a higher level. It's about understanding, hey, you have to divorce your emotional from your rational decision making self, so that you're actually moving forward with the like Paul was saying. It's like, well, we don't have all the information. Well, how do you get more information? You have to go digging. You can't dig properly if you're emotional, because you're going to confirmation bias yourself into places you shouldn't be, and improper statements. So just start learning to split yourself apart like that, and you'll have an easier time of this.
I want to point out one thing that Circle of One posted very recently. It says, think about the public level AI tech in the past year. Now think about the private level. You think they can't create entire video scenes on the spot when needed? Oh yeah.
Well, or even weirder, you think they can't script this you think they can't set this up a year in advance and have it all ready to drop? Like when you see a live event, is it live or are they just telling you it's live? You're seeing it on your phone or on a TV screen. You don't know if that's live.
I remember back in 2001, there was like I think it was like, it might have been the Daytona 500 was on. And there was like this tower in the middle of the stands. And I'm like, well, there's no tower in the stands there. ABC had like literally figured out how to construct visually, electronically, a fake tower as part of a graphic package. This is like the precursor to all the weird shit we're seeing today.
Well, look at what they do with advertisements in sports ball. They superimpose all that stuff, and you can't tell it's not real.
Yep.
Look at Kamala Harris's rallies.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Well, look at 9/11. They had the one video of the helicopter taking the video, and you can see that everyone says, how did the plane come out the other side? Right? You guys all know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
A fiberglass plane that would be dented and destroyed by seagulls decided to go through concrete steel, through the core of that building, and come out the other side, and you saw the front of the plane still shaped as if it was a missile, right? So some people thought it might have been a missile. If you really go back and you look at it, in my opinion, the one that seems most realistic was the fact that there was a filter over the screen of the camera filming, and the helicopter swayed a little too far to the left. So what you saw was the airplane enter the building and look as if at the same time the real explosion went off, the plane came out the other side. Well, that is only because the helicopter wasn't in the right position. It was all camera work.
Can I make this even weirder for you?
Please.
What if that screw up was intentional, so people would notice it?
Yep.
Like when you start getting into this stuff, do you not think the people who run the world have the capability of faking these things? Like for example, there's no doubt in my mind that 2 buildings went down. Right, but we're told that there's 3,200 people inside. Well, 3 buildings with 2 airplanes. Right.
Amazing.
Also, building 7, like that's really obvious, right? Okay, so but there's 3,200 people who work inside. If the people who run the world own all those companies, and they can put their own people in all of those jobs, then they can evacuate the building, fake the news, and nobody died. And they can have all the families set up to say, "Oh no, they definitely died. We had funerals and everything." How would you know that they're not just lying?
I'm going to go a step further, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this is going to hurt everybody's feelings, and you can all tell me to go after myself. I don't care. But the assassination attempt, I look at it in that manner. Sorry, you guys don't have to agree with me, but I am going to talk about it matter-of-factly because I believe it to be matter-of-fact. You can literally set something up to blow a hydraulic line. You can put a few things to make things go poof behind the stands. You can have someone in the back left far ass corner get shot and their brains all blow out and then the cops quick rush them away. You can set up something to look like chaos so that everyone that's there believes that what they saw was true. We watch it in the movies every day. I would almost go as far as to say that live, you could make it happen so everyone believed it even more so than on a movie. In a movie, it takes very, very, very hard work through CGI, I mean, you want everyone knows the process of making a movie at this point, and now they're using so much CGI that it's hard to tell reality in a movie. Like back in the 80s, we used to watch movies that were action movies, and you could see that they were action movies. You watch movies today, and you're like, wow, I can't tell if that was real or it wasn't. Well, the same thing goes for a live scare event. It is more than possible. Take all of your emotions out of this for just 1 second. Whoever is in charge of putting that production on, just grasp for the moment that it is more than possible that they could pull that off. It is more than possible. And I'm not saying that like, hey, Donald Trump faked it to get votes. Please understand me when I say, I think personally, I have to say this when I bring this topic up so everybody understands. I personally believe that Donald Trump had multiple assassination attempts on his life. For real, 100%. What I do with that information and what I saw to be surrounded by questions with set off my conspiracy theorist tinglers or whatever is how would they show the people something that happened that was very real? So what I believe we were faced with was a production, almost like a documentary, of a very real event. So I think that that's how the Zoids or the white hats or whoever can justify the presentation that was given to us, because it was given to us almost like a baby being fed whatever it might be, right? You open your mouth, and you want to. How in the hell did General Flynn and myself, Stormy Patriot Joe, Tucker Carlson, we can run down the gamut of people that predicted it was coming and it would fail. I made a post on May 31st that there would be an assassination attempt and it would fail. I did that only through discernment and the Q drops. And I'm not alone. Lots of people did it. And then it happened exactly that way. Because we were shown a very real event in a way that the public could digest, and it would motivate us to do exactly what Trump talks about in his pause speech. We will see how bad they've done, and it will be easier to do what has to be done because everyone will agree with us. Look, when I say that I believe we were shown a production, that in no way discredits Donald Trump in my eyes at all. What it does is show me even more so concrete the idea that what we're watching is an exposure event to weaponize we the people against everything that's been weaponized against us. All the examples I always give, school, Hollywood, blah, 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 right? So that is why I use all of that, everything that we've seen. I don't forget any of it, none of it. And then I get to talk to amazing people like you guys, where you're going back and connecting dots the same way. And it only concretes the idea that I have. I stand 117% with Donald Trump, period. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that assassination attempt was real. Not the one we saw. Sorry.
Yep. No, I agree with that completely. You have the left is saying it because, it's going to help Donald Trump. So even though Paul and I both have said, and you're saying it too, that no, we think it was staged, but we think it was staged for different reasons. So higher up.
Look at Q post 813. I mean, you can't get clearer than this. You are watching a movie.
Yeah.
Well, the difference between a movie and reality is the movie didn't actually happen the way it looks like it happened. Well, maybe this shit isn't actually happening the way it looks like it's happening.
Yep.
That's all we're doing is questioning everything.
Future proves past says the same thing. Future being what the information control, what we're being fed, future proves past. So very real events are now being presented to the public. Future proves past.
There's also multiple contexts to that. Like, for example, I personally think that the whole point of this thing is to eliminate as much crime as possible. I think that will happen. And I think the history, when you look back 20 years from now, will be very clear that using surveillance to get rid of RICO was the right thing to do. So the future will prove that this was the right way to go.
Well, we went on one hell of a rant. Do you want to go back? Because I think your Q drop, John, is.
Yeah, let's pull that one back up. So this is back to our spitball, our theory that Biden is going to come out tonight and resign. And we think it's tonight for the reasons we said before. For those of you that have joined us, it's a delta on 8-9. We don't need to show that one right now. But we think he's going to resign. This is where we think this drop is relevant. So, by the way, excuse me. By the way, when Paul and I look at the Q drops, we're not looking at them as a whole, like everything is in context. We think there are drops that have certain lines in it that don't necessarily apply. Like, say, in this case, Adam Schiff. Gosh, I got hiccups and a cough. It's awesome. But if you read this one, we always thought when this drop happened, I remember the boards, everyone was saying, oh, they threatened Trump's kids. What insurance did they hang over POTUS's head in order to prevent action? A father's love for his children knows no bounds.
Holy Hunter.
Hunter.
But it didn't make sense back when Q dropped it.
No, because they were like, nobody had heard anything about Trump's kids being threatened, really. I mean, there were whatever. It wasn't like that. But if you throw this in our scenario where Biden comes out and he basically does a confession, and he, they took the POTUS candidacy away from me. They've kept me drugged. Hunter's going to get railroaded here.
Well, and he may believe that his entire family is going to be killed because they all know about the corruption. They just want to eliminate the liability. Biden's family would be the biggest liability against the deep state out there in this narrative.
Yep.
By the way, just to reiterate, we don't know if there will be a confession. We don't know exactly what the details of this are going to be. Biden may just come out and say, well, I'm resigning, and then feed gets cut. And then nobody knows what's going on. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, we can talk about all sorts of stuff that we think could happen, and also the consequences of it, which are pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is really interesting because that if you assume, if he comes out and he says, "Yeah, I've got a confession to make to the American people," so he confesses to have been corrupt his entire life. Oh God, those stupid reactions. My monitor does that.
Do you guys realize how close our theories are aligning?
Everything is converging, and actually, that's one of the macro data points we have that I think we should get into, but not right now because I want John to finish his point. But
yeah,
there's a whole bunch of Q synchronicities before and after today that all lean this way.
So we were saying the motivation for Joe to do this is his whole family has been threatened, and now they've took away the one thing that he really wanted. And if I'm going down, you're going down too. I wonder if this were to happen, I mean, he could confess to saying the 2020 election and the 2022 election, yeah, we stole them. We stole them dirty. You guys were all right. Everyone was right. Trump was right. There could be that. He might say something along the lines in a scenario. He could say, you know what? I've turned over all of my correspondence, all my emails, all of my voicemails, everything that I have from all of the other corrupt people in this government and around the world. Yeah. The military, or DOJ has it, or the military has it.
Yeah, he might dump stuff on all sorts of foreign leaders. We don't know.
And he could also say, and not only am I coming clean and giving all that evidence to the military, it's on a website. rottenjoe.com or something.
Which right afterwards will disappear, but some pesky anons will have gotten a copy of everything. Thank God.
Just like Marco Polo. Yeah. Remember with the laptop?
Yeah, it's all going to show up on Ingersoll Lockwood or something.
Yeah, they're not operators or anything like that.
You are watching a movie.
So Biden could say all this stuff, and he could say that the evidence is there, and I am resigning my presidency. One other thing we thought of: what if Biden is the guy to have he kept Trump's EO going? I think it was 13848, the human
trafficking and corruption.
Corruption being the key one there.
Yeah, corruption is 99% of the teeth in that EO.
So he might say, you know what? I kept that going. Some of you may have wondered why. It was my own insurance policy against all these other guys, and now it's come due. I've had the military surveilling all these people, and I have now given them, I don't know if it would be an EO, if it would be a PED, if it would be something, and I don't want to use the words continuity of government, but it's something along those lines. I've given the military the direction. When this is over, folks, less than half of Congress will be standing. All of there'll be no executive branch because the line of succession is illegitimate. Mike Johnson won in 2020. So if the 2020 election was totally fucked and indeterminately so, like it can't be recreated.
You F-bombed.
Ooh, oops. If it was totally fucked and in a way that couldn't be recreated, you could say, well, we don't know if any of those people are legitimate. Then what? We think the scenario goes on where Biden basically resigns. We don't know how much of this the mainstream media will play, but for sure they would swear Harris in as soon as possible. So now she's going to be all over the media, and the media is going to be saying that Biden, we all knew he had dementia. Well, do you remember that quote that Trump made in December in Alamo, Texas? The 25th isn't about me, but it's going to come back to haunt Biden. Well, come back to haunt them, I think.
The 25th Amendment is of no risk to me. However, it will come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration.
Good God, Joe.
Right. So if they didn't, if now the mainstream media is saying, well, yeah, he's senile and all of his cabinet, no, he's just senile, he's got dementia. Why the fuck did you allow him to be president then? Why didn't you 25th him?
Yeah,
you were fine to leave him in there and risk the country? I mean, this is a Hobson's choice for those guys.
Yeah, this is a perfect script to point out how stupid and corrupt the media is and how in collusion with the deep state they are. And by the way, the reason I keep air quoting that is because you're watching a movie.
There is no deep state anymore.
There is no deep state. But anyway, so we think after today, if this happens, we think there's going to be the mainstream media is going to be reporting one thing. You're going to see the Kamala show with, Harry Ball's vice president. And it's going to just go off the rails and be so obviously corrupt. But then all of the anons on social media are going to be playing, Biden's clip where he resigns. And the media is going to be lying to your face and say, oh, no, he's senile. He didn't say those things, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be obviously fake. And so the net result when all this is done is, when, as we go into next year, is everybody's going to look at it and say, well, we did this. We overcame the media. So the whole population gets to take credit for having fixed the problem.
The only real news will be on social media. Paul, you said it this morning, I think.
We are the news.
Social media. What did you say?
Did it involve the word crap? Because I don't.
No, I think it was. No, you said something about social media is going to end up looking like it saved the country when it's probably one of the worst things.
Yes, one of the worst ideas in human history.
Can we talk 1 second about Harris's running mate?
Yeah.
Not my governor.
Do I have a bucket around?
Actually, I don't really.
Whoever wrote this script is awesome. This is why the military has been drawing dicks in the sky on ADSB.
Who would have allowed this guy to get picked when people can dig this shit up within 2 days of his nomination, that he drank horse cum, that he stole valor, that, all of that stuff. Come on, man.
Come on, Jack.
Come on, Jack.
Phil, do you have a comment on horse cum, Phil?
Do it again. Do it again.
Where's Phil? Did he fall asleep?
Hey, Phil.
Phil might be busy because of that last topic.
Hey, hold on. Can I show you something? Because this is how much I'm going to say. I don't think you guys are crazy. I wrote this 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Funny how Hunter Biden was used to expose the Biden crime family, because it looks more and more like Joe Biden himself is going to be used to expose the whole deep state cabal.
Yes.
The greatest movie ever. And that's not the only one. Hold on. I also wrote this one. And this was without talking to you guys. Hunter took a plea. Now, there's a reason I say this. There's a video that goes with it. And I'm starting to think that Joe is going to expose the whole deep state. Looking back at this clip now, Trump told us Joe may crash the DNC. And hindsight is 2020, right? Because Trump and Scavino just did those two things we showed. Well, I think I know. Listen to Hunter's voice, hot mic, right over top of Joe's speech. It was, if Joe was really Joe and the bad guys were in control, would that still be there? Or happened it all for that? Of course not. Hunter was used to expose the Biden crime family. If you believe he accidentally left those laptops in a repair shop, I have a bridge in Baltimore to sell you. And now Joe was thrown out with an unconstitutional coup. Joe isn't going to let that stand. Movie optically. Trump doesn't really have to do it. It will be Joe. Trump's hands will be clean. Freaking brilliant. Trump told you he caught them all. Now let's see what happens. You guys remember this, right?
Yeah, optically, this is going to be brilliant because Trump is just a bystander with no control, right?
Insulated.
Yeah, completely insulated. So this will, if Joe drops evidence against all of the major players in the DNC, they'll all end up being arrested, and then they're going to put total incompetent noobs in there right before the election with terrible candidates. I'm guessing Michelle Obama with like Hillary as a running mate, something really horrible like that, and it's just going to go down in flames.
You're right. So well, and that's the point of the post. So if Donald Trump is in charge as we think he is, and he told you he caught them all, now let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? This is just logic. Donald Trump, just like everything else we've seen, the 2020 election theft he exposed, Hunter Biden was used to expose Joe, right? There's tons of these things that have been used. Precedent has been set through Donald Trump like 100 times now, right? Document cases and raids on his house, and he's now been prosecuted. He now got shot in the freaking ear, right? If we're going to watch the movie, this is what we're watching, right? So all of these things have happened to set precedent.
Right.
Donald Trump also told you that Joe Biden was shot. He's got like half his head left. Donald Trump told us all of these other things that also point in the direction of them rather than himself. Meanwhile, he's going through it all. So it only logically, I think you guys are right. You can only come to the conclusion that Trump isn't going to be the one that exposes them optically.
Right. It makes way more sense that Biden does it.
Yeah, CPA Deb pointed that out. I said something that, the Dems are going to be way more likely to believe him. Now, the mainstream media is going to push all the seagrass in one direction, like it's false. But they'll be indicted for this. I mean, that's going to be a blatant hindsight, like 2020 hindsight thing, where like the media lied to us about this. Huh? We'll be going, welcome to the party, pal.
Also, let me point something out from a macro view. This whole thing has been going on for 7 or 8 years since Trump came down the escalator famously, right? This is so complex that it's mind-bending that a team of people could even construct this, and so you have to think about the seagrass, the 80 or 90% of the population that doesn't they won't read a book. They watch a movie that's based on a book and they think the book says the same thing. So they say, oh, yeah, I know what that says. Yeah, go read the book 2001 and see what's different. It's a lot different. And so when you have the average person on the street looking back at this narrative that's now, let's go 6 months in the future, and Trump has explained all these things that happened, and General Flynn has explained things, and all these pundits have explained things, they're going to listen to the experts and what the experts say is true and just believe that that is actually what happened. Because doing your own research for this is too complex. So this is how you construct propaganda, is you make the story so complex that the average person will default to just believing what they're told.
Do you want the cheat code, Paul? Here's my cheat code.
Sure.
Donald Trump tells us what's actually happening. And the reason I know he tells us what's actually happening, I brought this up yesterday, is because in those moments, the mainstream media doesn't ask him what the fuck he meant.
Yeah.
Sorry for my language, but
yeah.
when Donald Trump says we're sort of having my second term right now, we just don't want the results of this term. Or when Donald Trump tells you about the pause, or when Donald Trump tells you, am I going to be considered a 2-term or a 3-term president? When Donald Trump says all of these amazing things that set my Twitter account on fire, there's no way that I'm getting 3 million views on highlighting something Donald Trump said, and the mainstream media is pretending it didn't happen, where they didn't ask him. So the cheat code to me is in Donald Trump's words. When Donald Trump says something that doesn't make sense as far as the narrative is concerned, and the mainstream media doesn't acknowledge it, it's for a reason. It's because patriots are in full control. We have information control, and Donald Trump's telling you the truth. If he wasn't telling you the truth, the media would question, and we didn't have full narrative control. The media would grill him on it like they do when he stumbles over something he read, like we all do. They grill him on those things, right? They chop up the things when he's making fun of Biden, and they make us all look in this weird direction like, did Donald Trump really get lost on stage? Except for they don't ask him why he said it's sort of in his second term right now. Are you kidding me?
Well, and it's all perfectly structured to build a narrative in people's heads, almost as if it was a super sophisticated propaganda plan.
Right. Yep.
You're watching a movie.
Brilliant. It's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it really is.
Let me take. I see you thinking, John. Hold on. Hold that thought. Pull that up. I want to say before I lose these guys, I'm going to lose them. I don't have the plug-in that the boys told me about yesterday, so I end up losing these Rumble rants. So, Mad Ferret 003 with a $10 rant. No rant. Love this show. No need to thank me. Too bad. I did anyway. You're awesome. Thank you very, very much. Brenda, PFC Peanut, who helps tremendously over on Telegram and is here to support every single time. I'll match the rant with a heart. Thank you very, very much. $10 Rumble rant. John Henry Bonzo with a $10 Rumble rant. Me too. Be well and God bless you and your families. Thank you very, very much. And MAGA Collection with a $10. Where we go one, we go all. Pepe emoji and Ashley Wire $25. You guys rock. You make learning fun. Thank you. And Denise Murray again. Denise Murray 2022, who also supports. Denise also supports through the Cash App. I don't know why she does it publicly and privately, but I see you, girl, and I thank you very, very much. I'm in. Much love. Thank you. And I brought it up, so I'll just say it quick. That Cash App was put up there because it was asked of me, of people that can't watch live because we go live at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That is for people that watch on replay because they have jobs, which I understand. And it was put there just in case, because people ask me how they can support when the show's not live. Well, that's the way. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, John. So where are we going, buddy?
I wanted to talk about two things, but we'll get to them. One is CPA Deb asked about, she thought the financial crash would happen under Biden. We have a theory for that. We'll address that in a little bit. Sorry. The other thing is that Ben Z. Mircroft pointed out that Trump and Musk is interviewing Trump Monday night at 7 o'clock.
How convenient.
It's very interesting timing, no?
Yeah.
So kind of back to the scenario. So now the military has all this information. And if one of the scenarios that we said where Biden authorized this surveillance, if they've had it for that amount of time, maybe they take it to a SCOTUS to have SCOTUS bless the PED or the EO or whatever it is. Is this within the power of the president that just resigned? Is this still in effect? Is this legal? Is it not? And I mean, the answer is not certain, like from where Paul and I said, well, it's not cut and dried. 3 impersonations. I don't know. It's not cut and dried. It's not cut and dried at all. That the SCOTUS would rule one way or the other, but we're watching a movie. They're going to rule for the good.
They're going to rule exactly the way they need to rule to have this go off perfectly.
That's walking. So we think that then that might be this 10 days. Codupont, when is the shutdown? Because he was saying that he was thinking the shutdown might be the dark days of darkness. Don't know.
We don't know, and it's very possible that you won't be able to see the 10 days of darkness until just after it's happened. And Q is excellent at doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the stuff that people thought was a big deal turned out to just be some stupid pun somewhere, and people go, ugh, which, that's part of the whole show is they're kicking you in the brain constantly.
Yeah.
So
this is a hard one for people to grasp. I want to bring this up, see what you guys think. First of all, Phil, you awake?
Yeah, I'm awake.
Oh, okay. We tried to talk to you earlier. You were gone. I thought maybe you ran to the restroom.
Well, pay attention to your chat. I said I was AFK.
Oh, my fault. Pay attention to my chat. I'm sorry. All right, he's back. All right, yeah, I'll have to pay attention to that. Sorry, I'm reading 3,000 other comments at the same time. So Q, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong. I want all three of you guys to tell me this. We weren't necessarily given like a list of facts and predictions.
No, you can't trust anything in Q.
We were used as a weapon. We were used.
Oh, yeah.
We were legitimately used within a PSYOP. And now, what I'm seeing now, though, is the future proves past thing. Like you guys just brought up that part that I said Holy Hunter on. It seems to me that the drops are becoming more relevant now because dude, everything Trump says, everything that's happening is hitting the boards like crazy. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like we were used as a weapon, and which is part of the reason we were so easily discredited in the beginning. I say we, but like the OGs, the people that were on the boards. And now it almost feels like I feel like I'm cheating because I wasn't there for like to get discredited then. And I'm here now where like the boards are so relevant. Look.
Hey, Joe, who was doing the discrediting?
The white hats.
The white hats.
Yeah, but who bought into it? A lot of our movement.
Right, because they had to make you buy into it so you'd fight harder.
Yep.
And then Donald Trump does this. That was yesterday.
I hadn't seen that one yet.
Hang on a minute.
Right, so we showed this yesterday on the show, but this is Enoch picked up and posted this the quickest, but that's literally dropped 2039. Where we go when we go. It's signed Q plus, and Donald Trump retruthed this.
Yeah.
That's not the only one. Hold on. This one says, where we go one, we go all on his right shoulder, and Q plus on his left.
Yep. Yeah. When this is over with, all the Q followers are going to be validated because Q was part of this big military operation that Trump put into place. Now, we think it's much larger than that. Doesn't matter. Because the narrative that the seagrass is going to accept is exactly what they're showing on TV. And in social media and by all the pundits. I mean, look at the real high power pundits. You got Joe Rogan, you've got Tucker Carlson, you've got Trump, you've got any other number of them, but they can get to hundreds of millions of people in a day or two, and 80 or 90% of the population is just going to go.
I want to hear because Phil literally runs what I think is the greatest QAG site there is, Q aggregator. How do you feel about what I said, QAG?
Well, I mean, we weren't just psyoped into fighting. We were prepared for cushioning the blow for so many people around us. Okay, it's a two-part psyop, and I absolutely agree with Paul and John. This was a psyop. There's people out there saying, "Oh, it's a psyop." The CIA. I'm like, okay. I just told this to somebody the other day. It's like, if there's one thing the government never wants, it is a more faithful populace. And Q brought so many of us back to our faith that's the last thing the CIA would want, because a faithful people, I'm not talking religious, faithful people are very hard to break. Okay, and when and I'm not saying we haven't had people freak out or anything, but by and large, you look at the movement, and we've held pretty steady for the most part on almost everything. And that's another key part of this. So, I agree with what they're saying. It's like, future proofs past, very much so. Drops are definitely becoming more relevant. I started talking about convergence, I think it was like back in either March or April. I was just watching everything going on. I'm like, okay, we're like slowly walking down a tunnel that's getting more narrow by the day. The question is, when does that tunnel hit a point where you can only fit one person through it? Is that tonight? I don't know. I mean, I will die laughing if John and Paul are right about tonight.
So will we.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I also won't be like crazy upset if it doesn't happen, because we still know something is coming. I mean, something big is coming. Something big is coming is not just a catchphrase. Okay, something big is coming, and we've had a lot of big things happen. When is the big thing? I don't know. Maybe it won't be one. If there's one thing, like Paul was saying earlier, Q is great at a lot of misdirection. Okay, misinformation, disinformation is necessary. So many of us have been trained. Oh, there's going to be like one big event.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's going to be 50 little events.
It's going to be a mess.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, where are we going? I don't know. I'm just, and if some people get mad at me because I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm not emotionally evolved. I'm not emotionally invested in it like that anymore, because that's going to drive you crazy. Like I was saying earlier, it's just I've taken a step back, and I'm just like, I'm watching all this, and I'm like, I had somebody text me yesterday. It's like, are you worried? I'm like, are you afraid? I'm like, absolutely not. Well, why not? Well, because we don't have control of the things on the global stage at this point. Okay, there's nothing you or I or Paul or John or anybody in the chat room can do about the events going on the global stage. And one thing I've been telling people, it's like, look, whether you believe it's a show or not, are you still going to call out evil? Are you going to still call out the assholes out there? Are you still going to go after, pedophiles? Are you still going to do all the right things? If the answer is yes, then good. Keep on keeping on. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. Don't worry so much about some of this big stuff that's like freaking some people out. I mean, who was it? Was it Lawrence O'Donnell, or I don't know? There's like some newscaster like going a little loopy a couple days ago. I'm like, I don't care. And what's his face? Keith Olbermann. The guy who took time out of his day to go into your thread a couple months ago, Joe, and try and call you out.
It was awesome.
Funny.
I mean, like that's like the poster child for don't let your emotions rule your life. Or at least that's the show we've been given.
Yeah.
When Trump had the assassination attempt and got shot in the ear, like I saw that fly by and I went, huh. because with everything John and I have seen, we know this is scripted. Feel free to not believe us. We don't care.
He told us yesterday he's a super fast healer.
Yeah, I know.
That's hilarious. I hadn't seen that, but yeah, I mean, I looked at it and said, "Oh, that's what they're going to do." And so, we're looking at macro patterns. Yep. John and I are almost certain, or as certain, I think, as anybody can be about this kind of macro stuff, that this is all going to end just fine. I mean, look at all the humor in the Pepe the Frog stuff. Somebody just posted an awesome Pepe picture that's I know you saw it, John. It's so awful to look at.
Abner on Truth did.
Yeah, I'm going to put a link to this in chat. It like, is this just happening organically, or is there a scripted team injecting this stuff to make sure people don't get demoralized and depressed? And right. Hold on a second. My computer isn't computering good.
No. Well, and think of it this way. Think of it this way, Joe. Are we seriously expected to believe that the VP for the Democratic nomination is a guy with stolen valor and who may or may not have had some quantity of horse semen in his stomach? Just think about it. I mean, the meme potential alone that has happened in the past 2 days could, I mean, okay, with how quote unquote smart the Democrats always appear to be when it comes to political things, would they willingly put somebody out there like that can literally just have the meme, the fuck memed out of them so hard that nobody could take them seriously?
Well, okay, so you're right. And that goes to my point about why no one questions Trump. Look, I don't know if you guys watched that speech yesterday. We aired it live on the show. This was a moment where I was like, what the hell? And you know what? I don't know if, I was prepping for the show and doing some stuff with my son today, but I don't seem to have seen anything where the media asked him about this. The only people that have made comments about this are on our side. Listen to what Donald Trump says here.
No, I think the people that, if you look at January 6th, which a lot of people aren't talking about very much, I think those people were treated very harshly when you compare them to other things that took place in this country where a lot of people were killed. Nobody was killed on January 6th. But I think that the people of January 6th were treated very unfairly. And they were there to complain, not through me. They were there to complain about an election. And
why did nobody ask him about that? Why has nobody asked him what he meant? You're muted, I think, Paul. I don't know why I can't hear you. Can you guys hear Paul?
I cannot.
I don't know why we can't hear you, Paul.
Sorry. He'll end up being proven right, and the whole Ashley Babbitt thing will end up having some reason why it was played out that way.
Yeah,
to sting somebody.
The assassination, same thing.
Yeah. Check your incoming messages.
I've got to share the screen. I've got the creepy Pepe.
Incoming messages. Where? Oh, right here. I see.
Yeah, this is like, was it made organically? You'll never know. Or was it a team putting this kind of stuff out there to get people questioning whether or not this is all scripted? Plus, it's
so good. I want to show one thing here before I forget. Let me say too that I think that when this is all done, when this is over, you're going to be able to look back through all this stuff that Trump said, and you're going to go, "Oh, that's what he was talking. That makes sense. How prescient was that? Wow!" It's like
I'm hoping people go back to my post and go, "Oh my God, that dummy that saw it right when it happened, and we all called crazy."
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like. I feel like I'm seeing things just like you guys are, right? Everybody probably feels this way to a level, but I feel like I'm seeing it right away. And when I say it, people are like, "You're insane." And I'm like, Trump told you the news was fake. He told you the indictments were fake. He told you he caught them all. We watched him leave with the football. We saw a completely fugazi inauguration for Joe Biden. We watched soundstage after soundstage, examples of green screen after green screen. It's still happening to this day with Kamala Harris's. Like, how is everyone not connecting all of these dots? There's so many dots that it's ridiculous.
Well, and also ask yourself, can this actually happen like this in the real world? Or is this being done intentionally to point out to people not to trust everything you see? Because one of the biggest cognitive problems people have is they just believe anything they're told. Well, guess what? That enables criminals and con men. So if you want them not to be susceptible to criminals and con men, you teach them not to trust anything they see. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think we'll be vindicated. I don't know. I mean, there's some small percentage of seagrass that gets elevated to an invertebrate. I think most of the population will remain seagrass. They're just going to have a new message from the mainstream media, and somebody will have told them, "Yeah, you know what? They got all cleaned out. Now they're telling us the truth." Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, that's most of the population will fall into what we call the cartoon narrative, and the people who are really persistent will choose to know the truth, and that takes a lot of effort. But it's a very small subset of the overall population.
It does take a lot of effort, and most people, when you put the effort in and you put things out in bite-sized form, like say an X post, most people will look at that post as if it's a standalone incident, and so will discredit it just like Donald Trump saying something like Joe's shot. Well, yeah, you play football and you blow your knee out, your knee's shot. Right? I get it. I understand. The problem is none of this is standalone. There's a whole thing that we've seen. How many coincidences before mathematically impossible? We passed that, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Long time.
And actually, that's just with the Q posts. When you get into the bird language and the media, it's a trillion times less probable that this is an accident. I mean, it is saturated in everything. People just don't understand how to read it yet. I think that's why the NSA is nerfing my certificates on my websites, because it's not time yet.
The amount of coincidences are tippy top at this point. You know what I mean? Can I tell you guys? And I want to see if Q's got one of, or if QA's got one of these. Phil, can I tell you why I think it's not going to be tonight?
Why?
Because Donald Trump said, "Could Joe Biden crash the DNC?" There's one example. I got tons, but that go ahead. I want to hear. This is why I'm bringing it up.
What if by crash?
Yeah. What does crash mean?
Crater.
Yeah.
Crater the whole Democratic
Did he
Party.
blow it up? He's gonna blow it up.
Make it not happen.
Right. Or just screw it up.
He's
so badly
going to royally fuck it up.
Yeah. Oh, there's number 3.
Well, we only got one. We only got one thumbs down so far, so you're good. Keep saying more. Fire
You got
away.
a thumbs down? Who's that fag?
It's probably
You're so
we get
rude.
Phil, if you had 1 point to try to make them question their theory, what would it be?
Well, I actually talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I was trying to poke holes in it, and I really couldn't. But once again, you got the Trump thing coming out there. I looked at what Trump said, and I'm like, well, he's talking about Joe going to the DNC, and if there's one thing we know about Trump, he doesn't say things idly. He doesn't throw out stuff just to throw stuff out. Like all the stuff he says, always
it's deliberate.
It's very deliberate, and somehow it ends up being true
and important. Everything
exactly.
he says is important somehow.
So, all right, I guess I'll work against you this time, Joe. Biden resigning tonight does not preclude him from showing up at the DNC.
No.
Yes. Let me say, I'm not actually telling them they're wrong. I was just trying to fire up a conversation. That's all.
We don't know. I mean, the thing is, like I said about the bird language, when you look at this at the huge macro view, it's almost pointless to try to predict these things because it's going to play out the way they want it to play out because you're watching a scripted thing, right? The main reason I've wanted to predict these things is because we're looking at the most epic show ever put on in human history, and they have created a witch's brew of problems, from trannies to global warming to all these things. I mean, it's just, flat earth. Holy crap. There's an epidemic of mind worms, right? and somehow this has to flip. We have to hit a watershed point that leads us into a timeline where all of these problems could be resolved, right? And when you look at it that way, I'm just sitting here curious as hell thinking, how are these guys? These are the Magi, right? They're really good at this. They spent a lot of time doing this show, and they've got a really choice plot twist coming up.
Yeah. Now, the only guy I've seen who's actually predicted a couple things pretty closely is Stormy Joe. I've seen him make some crazy predictions. Like there was one, I think it was like a year ago or something, where he's like, okay, Dan Scavino in the next couple days is going to come out and say something about this. And it actually happened. I just about fell off my fucking chair for that one.
We got enough out of Phil. That's the second one from Phil.
Phil, you're right. He just did it with the assassination, bro.
Yes, and he did it with the. I mean, he's had. I mean, out of all the people I've seen out there, he's like the one guy who seems to have like a really good finger on the pulse of, okay, we're about to hit something, and he more often than not has guessed pretty close to what that something is supposed to be.
But okay, so Phil, he has the trait that I love in you guys, that I love in these two, you, and that I think that I have myself. he has a very innate ability to not care.
Yep.
If you call him out. I love Stormy Patriot Joe. I think that his ability to dissect what he's read in those drops and predict what he sees coming is very close up there to second to none. The dude's brilliant, and that's why I love you guys too. I think you guys all have that same trait. Yes, it's uncanny what he's able to see from the drops.
Yep.
A lot of times I see what happens and I'm like, oh, there it was. Joe says this is what's going to happen because I see this, and you're like, whoa.
Yep. So
Hey,
I mean,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to have him share my screen. Co DuPont sent me this. It's a really good.
I still have this up.
Heavy.
Is that the one? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Phil, go ahead. Finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Phil, I'm sorry. I thought you were done too.
No, I was done.
Yeah.
See, now that Pepe's me because I do smoke, or it's Paul because Paul smokes too.
I do.
Yeah.
I smoke on podcasts, and everybody probably says, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." And I think, fuck off.
I quit smoking. I smoked for a long time. And
I quit a few minutes ago.
I met Kim online, right? Like, it was one of the bad sites too, like Plenty of Fish or something. It was one of those haggard ones, right? So I met Kim that way, and I was pretty sure I wrote smoking in my profile. I think I wrote like no vaccinated, no if you're voting for Biden, and like I smoke cigarettes. I'm pretty sure that's all I wrote, because I was like getting out of a bad relationship, and I was just like, and we met, and I smoked, and I could see her face. And in all the years I smoked, I didn't care. I told you I smoked, so I'm gonna smoke. And for some reason with her, I was like, oh, that sucks. I really like her. So I had to stop doing it. That's why I stuck with these dumb vape things.
I was trying to find a picture to share. You probably wouldn't have put it up. I'm like, yeah, this is your picture, and it's this like 8-year-old kid. He's wearing a white shirt that says "I fuck on the first date."
Jeez.
Oh wait, I did it too. So that's 5. Man, we're doing good this show.
I probably met 20 people when I was single, and that's the only one I met on the dumbest site, and that's the one I ended up dating.
That's
Isn't that
funny.
crazy, right? I did like really good sites. I went out and did healthy things and tried to meet people that way. I went to church with the intention of meeting people. It's probably not a good intention to go to church, but it happened, and I end up like being with the one I met on Plenty of Fish.
Apparently, there are plenty of fish.
Plenty of kids.
Thanks for all the fish.
Yeah, by the way, I think that's because they're doing all the spear fishing with email. I think that's why the dolphins in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when they leave in the beginning, they say thanks for all the fish. I think it's because they're the ones who were responsible for all the spear fishing at email.
I got one more point that I want you guys to tell me why my head. Okay, so I feel like we're obviously on this progression of disclosure, right? It's every day. It seems like there's more. I look at that drop that says note the past 2 years, note next 6.
Yep.
And if you do the math, where does that land us, QAG? Somewhere in 2025, if I'm not
June or July 2025, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So the way I look at it from a 40,000-foot view, when you take that into account, that thought process and that post, is that do you think that we're at the level of exposure where everyone would be ready for Joe Biden to say that tonight?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, you got to shock people. I mean, if there's one thing I've learned by dating people here in Austin, number one, they're fucking insane. Number 2,
that's why I left.
God damn it! Why did I take a drink?
See, I was watching this time, John.
Oh, you bastard!
But number 2, I wrote a tweet about this, and yes, I still call them tweets. A couple weeks ago, you can see some of them are at a point of questioning. So, like when I push it, like it's like, oh, I'm not vaccinated and COVID was a pandemic, and they like have a breakdown. You can see their minds just like wanting to shut down. But some of them are like, they'll just tell me to fuck off and go away. Okay, but the fact that they have that kind of emotional reaction instead of like giving me the litany of the mainstream media crap, to me, it's a change. I mean, are they ready? I don't know. Are they ever going to be ready? I don't know. And you know what? At this point, I don't care. Whenever the truth comes out, it's going to come out. And and this is something Paul and John and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago. There's the drop with 4 to 6% will be lost forever. And if you look at it from the perspective of like what we were talking about earlier, it's like, well, if you could let one die to save 99, or whatever the ratio is, we're in the same boat. It's like, how many people do you need to be able to save in order to call the operation a success? Can you save everybody? No. And the Bible even says everybody can't be saved. So, only the white hats running the show are going to know. When the populace is ready. We're not going to know. I based on the idiots here, I'm like, these people don't seem ready. But you know what? They have a palpable level of anxiety right now. Like everybody.
Everybody's mind has been open to some extent, maybe with the exception of that 4 to 6% on the other side. But think of the Anons as a multi-layer catcher's mitt, so that when there's a disclosure for the seagrass that shocks them, like this Biden thing, they all have a friend who's been saying this crazy shit for years, and they excommunicated them.
Yep.
And then they're going to get on the phone and go, "What the hell just happened?"
Yep.
Right? The Anons are a catcher's mitt, and in the Anon community, you have this stratification of understanding. So Q was done so many years ago to build up that populace of people who have a more open mind about what's going on, so that when kind of the lowest level of the pyramid is slapped with a big fish, there's people all around them who can explain what's going on. And that's kind of a shock absorber to prevent violence and to prevent chaos and to prevent
your guys' point gives credence to the fact that it's going to be Joe Biden and not Donald Trump. I looked at that interview coming up with Elon and Trump as a negative towards your guys' theory, but now that I'm reading it again, I'm thinking, oh no, that could potentially be exactly why you guys are right, and it happens tonight.
Yeah, because
oh no.
The thing of this, Trump could ask Elon a pointed question about direct messages, for example, and Elon could just turn red and smile and say, "Well, I don't know anything about that." And then everybody's going to go,
like what he said, "I don't know anything about QAnon. All I know is they like me, and they don't like pedophilia." Right? Is that supposed to be a bad thing?
Right. And now we've got a VP candidate who loves horses.
Oh my God.
Go to the thing. I'm sharing a drop that I just thought was interesting. There's no delta to it. I just thought this was interesting.
Monday, next week, bigger, public. We listened. 20.
Monday, Trump, Elon.
20 of 80 is greater than 40 to 6.
20% public, 80% private. And they went 40 to 6, 40% public, 60% private.
Maybe Biden dumps 20% of the data.
Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows how it's going to go. I want to talk a little bit about what Deb had asked about the crash. So if Biden resigns, that throws so much uncertainty into fucking civilization. So what's that, 6? into civilization. So uncertainty is the thing that drives market volatility. And if it appears like we have a constitutional crisis, you're going to see a crash. Paul and I think, like they did at the outbreak of World War I, they shut down the markets for 4 months. They might totally shut trading for 4 months.
Wouldn't Joe Biden telling the world what you guys are saying Joe Biden is going to tell the world tonight crash the market?
Nobody will be surprised if that happens. Also, don't forget our geothermonuclear war situation with Iran.
Oh, that's coming up too. Sure. And maybe there's another scare event incoming when America's going, in that week or 10 days or whatever it is. of constitutional crisis where it appears like the media is saying, well, Harris is president.
Mm-hmm.
And the well, wait, but didn't Biden resign? But he's admitted to cheating, and what's going on? We think SCOTUS will bless whatever it is, whatever instrument they use, and then the military steps up, and then the arrests start happening.
Yeah, I mean, what if the military, like let's say the media is reporting that Kamala Harris is president, and the military, like on Sunday, a couple days afterwards, sends out Milley or whoever it is, and he says, no, Kamala Harris is not president. We are in control. We're in a state, under the UCMJ or law of war or whatever, or continuity of government, or however they're going to spin it. He says, no, that's not true. Right. And so the media is not going to play that at all. But what do you think the Anons are going to do on social media? They're going to blast that everywhere.
Yep.
And then you're going to have people, YouTube's taking it down and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to cause a massive amount of Streisand effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's going to find out that the media is lying before they actually shut off the media. I think the next 6 to 8 weeks after this is just chaotic bullshit.
Well, speaking of YouTube, Paul, coincidentally, what just happened within the past couple of days? Who lost a major antitrust lawsuit on search engine and whatnot?
Google, yeah,
and YouTube.
So YouTube's owned by Google, but yeah.
So yeah, I mean this just lends credence.
They've been NLPing this for forever. They've been showing people that this has happened. Maybe this is why everybody lost their accounts on Twitter, is just so that everybody can get used to the idea that bad guys censor you by doing these tricks, right? And so now when this shock happens, people see that again and go, wow, it's true. They actually do censor. Yeah, you got to think about the seagrass. This is one of the problems that John and I have is you can't analyze what you think is going to happen based on what should be possible. You have to analyze it based on a really awful ending to an action movie, that you hate watching because the ending gets so unbelievable that no thinking person would ever believe it was real.
It's really there.
We're already there.
Yeah.
Like we're in that ending that none of this shit could actually happen in real life, but there it is.
Yeah.
By the way, what if that drop that says, look to Twitter, my fellow Americans? What if that's Monday night? Because X used to be Twitter.
Dude, the comma and the ... certainly make it seem like it's a verbal comment.
Yeah, because it is a quote, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the ... that means continuance. Like that's the beginning of a long statement.
Right. What if Elon Musk says it? It doesn't have to be Trump.
No. It just says look to Twitter.
Yeah.
It doesn't say Trump.
Right.
Would it say would he say my fellow African Americans?
My fellow trans.
Because he is African American.
He's more African American than Kamala is. I think that's hilarious. He is.
So true.
Kamala has no African in her history. Like none of her ancestors.
Kamala Harris's family were slave owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets better and better, doesn't it? Like this would never happen. None of this stuff would happen.
Elon Musk is more African American than Kamala.
There is one set of data that I think is pretty useful to cover, just in case people want to look at it. And that is that, we're at August 9th. So if you look at the deltas on August 9th, right after that post that says comfy previews over Showtime, there's a post that has a whole bunch of stuff on it that when you analyze it, it's essentially an org chart of the deep state collusion that would have given Donald Trump the legal predicate to consider a state of war. Okay. Without going into detail about what that means, you can figure it out yourself or talk to others or whatever. But that's on the same day. That's on August 9th. But if you look at the 10 days before August 9th, and you look at all the deltas on each day, it looks just like the lead up we've just had. And if you look at the 15 or 20 days after, especially the first 9 or 10 days after today, it's like an enumeration of the first 2 years of corruption on the Q boards. You've got Haiti in there. Clinton Foundation, all of the categories, as if someone is just dropping truth bombs on the public.
I said this yesterday, Paul. I think the Kamala Walls ticket is to literally make us recap all of the shit that they already pumped into us for the last 4 years. You're literally recapping it all.
Yes, and also look at how Kamala suddenly became the candidate, right? Biden backed out, and all of a sudden, Kamala was outdoing Trump in the polls, like out of nowhere. Which, once again, that would never happen in reality.
Remember that? Oh, did you see this yesterday? Did you see this?
Yeah. That's
Laura
actually
Powell, a lawyer, exposed to everyone that she's literally using Biden's personal candidate ID number, not her own.
Yeah, in other words, the DNC is corrupt, and they can just plug in any meat bag into their candidate. And I think what we're going to see out of the DNC after this is going to be just breathtakingly obviously corrupt, so that the left goes, "What the hell are they doing?" Right? This script is amazing.
Yeah.
It is breathtakingly gorgeous to wake people up and get them to not believe what they're told.
It's easier to do what has to be done because everybody will agree with us. We will see how bad they've done.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to show them. You can't tell them. You have to show them.
Show them. Yeah.
Let me just wrap this up with a little bit of not really a bow, but just to kind of talk about what we think is going to happen in the next,
please,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. So we think that at some point the media, things are going to, like, it'll be very clear to everybody that the military has arrested a whole bunch of people. They are in a caretaking role to take us to the elections. The
could also be DOJ and federal agents, by the way. It doesn't have to be military, but
yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
But we do think that the elections will be held one day, paper ballot, voter ID, all that stuff.
Smooth.
Very smooth, right?
We believe the election will be no hiccups, perfectly smooth, nothing goes wrong. It's just wonderful.
We might have we should know who the president is the very next morning by sunrise, kind of a thing. This will also change the state stuff, because between now and the election, we think that there might be a time when the military says, whoever is in charge, they would say something along the lines of, "Look, we have absolutely everything. Joe Biden gave us all of his correspondence, and we've been surveilling you guys since he extended the executive order. We know who you are. If we haven't gotten to you yet, we're coming. Turn yourself in."
Right.
And check out this drop. Okay.
Yeah, there's a point I want to make about this, by the way, but go ahead.
I'm sharing it, Joe. This is on 8/26. I don't know if it would happen that early or not, but that kind of falls in the pocket.
It could.
Yeah.
Based on the Q drops, this is right in the pocket of when that could happen.
Suicide weekend. Suicide weekend? Question mark. Hands up? Question mark. 30. 28 seconds. Impossible? Coincidence? We are in control. Big week ahead. Q. That 30
August
reminds me of
26th.
John McCain.
August 26th is a Monday.
What's a Monday? It's a big week ahead.
Yeah, so they blast this out that week, and then the basically in the weekend, everybody commits suicide.
Or what if they blast it on the Friday before?
Yeah.
And all these people die, and on Monday, the delta is, is that a suicide weekend?
Yep. Yeah. So in hindsight, this will look like it made perfect sense. The point I wanted to make, if you don't mind, crap, what were you talking about right before that?
Military smooth elections.
Oh, yeah. So we think that the military has been doing collection. Well, NSA collects everything, right? They even collect domestic stuff so that they can go back and use it with FISA warrants in case they have probable cause, supposedly, right? So we think the military has been aware of all the corruption and may have had the evidence to expose all of this, but there's always been a commander in chief saying, "Stand down," right? Yeah. And the military would, and the reason they would is because they can't know everything, and so they can't question a POTUS order like that if POTUS says, "Look, regardless of how this looks, there are things you don't know and you need to stand down." So it is a believable story after the fact to believe that Biden was telling them to stand down until this point. So it isn't necessarily just stuff that Biden knew about. The military may have been sitting on a mountain of stuff for 7 years, right? on election crimes. So this may be like that key that unlocks the door of all doors and lets all that evidence out.
How do you inject evidence? Joe Biden, by the way, he could declass a whole bunch of stuff. He could be the president that does all the declass.
Actually, Obama in 2009 made it illegal to classify anything that conceals a crime.
Yep.
That fits in perfectly too.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, and
surprise.
interestingly, they actually over the same time period, they reorganized some of the classification structure.
Yep.
The National Archives did. So instead of things like for office use only and like literally a zillion other classifications, they condensed it all down into controlled unclassified information as a singular category, which is kind of fascinating when you think about everything that could fall into that category now.
Like everything that conceals a crime.
Controlled unclassified.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be the POTUS has final say in that, and Biden can just say, yeah, anything that shows a crime is fair game.
Yeah.
And then he resigns, and the military says, well, constitutional crisis, we're going to keep the peace until the election. And then they run the election, Trump wins, and then another thing John and I have talked about is it's possible, we don't know how likely this is, but it's possible that the closest thing to constitutionality on November 6th, when Trump has won the election, is for the military to appoint Trump as interim president.
Or commander-in-chief at least.
Right. Because Congress is now disabled if they've arrested a whole shitload of them. And the election can't be approved by Congress correctly because Congress is dysfunctional. And so they need to have the new Congress in January in order to approve a POTUS. But it's still better to have someone who's already been POTUS acting almost as the receiver for the country. So we think they might actually appoint Trump interim POTUS right after the election. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. The legalities on that are really weird because if you have judicial corruption, like what is the military going to do with SCOTUS?
You know what? You have that, but one thing we didn't talk about, the Law of War Manual, Chapter 11, is all about how you occupy the legal position of the occupying power, and it's 84 pages. It's heavy reading. There's a lot of footnotes in those 84 pages, and by the way, those footnotes are all really, really relevant. And
yeah, it's also very confusing because the occupying power and the occupied is kind of reversed. It's very strange to read.
Though they use the word belligerent, and it's the noun of belligerent as opposed to a belligerent asshole. So a belligerent is not going to be. It's just a nation state or nation or a state that's at war. So a belligerent party, basically, which is not, again, the adjective. A belligerent is so belligerent occupant. I can't even talk now. They must have hit me.
That's because we're stoned.
Belligerent occupation or a belligerent occupier could, in this case, if in our theory, that would fit the military.
Yeah.
And what they can do in the law of war is that as far as they can possibly do it, they have to respect the laws of the land that they occupy, which would be the Constitution and all that stuff. But if it gets in the way of the safety and security of the people of that country, they can disregard.
Do whatever they need to. Yeah, they can do whatever they need to.
They let civilian courts run exactly, as they currently are, unless there are corrupt judges and officials, and then they're removed, and then you have tribunals, or they could insert a judge if you wanted to do that. What else? I'm blanking on it.
They could also appoint him as interim POTUS with limited POTUS capabilities, so that it's a figurehead to release information to the people, because the people will listen to POTUS.
With what you guys are saying, are you referencing what it will look like, or are you referencing an actual, like Q said, by the book, right? Everything has to be legal.
Yeah.
Is what we were told. So is what you're talking about right now mean that that's the legal process that will play out to, or are you telling us what it's going to look like visually, optically?
I would say they're the same thing, but You're an animal on a planet, and even law is something that is just in your head.
So think about it like this: that for people to really understand, for normies, maybe not normies, that they're seagrass, but for people who are researching and want to try to understand it, they're going to be able to see, okay, gee, the military is in charge. How are they doing this? And if they really want to read it, they'll find, oh, the law of war. Oh my God, they're following this. Oh wow, this was promulgated for the first time ever 4 days before Trump came down the golden escalator in July of 2015.
What a coincidence!
Holy cow! It's almost as if, nah, couldn't be
all planned.
So,
yeah, there are these wrinkles or warts or little holes in the narrative that if you choose to go through them, like you said, the choice to know will be yours. If you choose to crawl through those little holes in the narrative saying this doesn't make sense, then you end up doing what John and I have done and understanding more and more and more. And then you're listening to, Judas Priest songs and going, holy shit, that's what that means.
No, you're listening to Psycho Stick going, yeah, I just need to listen to this.
Yeah, those guys are clearly Zoids. By the way, listen to and look up the lyrics to Ozzy Osbourne's song "Let It Die," and ask yourself if there's any way that can be a coincidence. It's super compelling.
Travis, when do you think Q took control? I'm curious.
I'm going to give some credence to this comment. Certainly not for the whole thing. Only for the simple fact that Donald Trump won the 2016 election. I get asked all the time. I get asked in a way that's trying to discredit everything that I have, come to the conclusion of through my research. And I get told all the time, like, what are you going to do when they steal the election again in 2024? What are you going to do when are you going to admit everything that you are talking about is a LARP, blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump wouldn't have won in 2016 if we weren't capable of protecting at least at minimum, the very important swing states that would win or lose an election. I don't know how anybody can act like we outvoted a system that we have now been taught has been rigged against us for decades and decades and decades. Yeah. If there wasn't a level of protection in 2016, they never thought she would lose, right?
Yeah, this is one of those holes.
It is. So the plan goes back till at least this point in my eyes. I think you're right at that level, Travis, because we were then messaged for months and for a long time that 2020 would be stolen so that we would all watch and see it be stolen. And at least the ones of us that were paying attention and open to the idea saw it happen right in front of our eyes. And then we were told the whole last 4 years that we caught them all, right? Mike Lindell put out symposium after symposium showing you how they caught them all. And yes, nothing happened. Well, didn't it? Didn't it? Because what we're talking about here is what happened. They caught them all. First of all, they protected it, which they're going to do again in 2024. Donald Trump told you, we won't let them steal it again, right? And they've now shown you all of the corruption, everything that they tried to do to us. It has now been to a level that honestly, these guys could be right. We could see an exclamation point tonight or any damn night at this point. We have gotten to that point. And you're right. It's going to take a shock. And it shouldn't be Donald Trump. It should be somebody like Joe Biden. And I can see your logic fully. Why wouldn't it? They just did a coup on him.
And he has all of the motivation with the whole Hunter Biden and the rest of his family to do it. I mean,
and every right.
Yeah. And the script is perfect.
It's so perfect.
It's awesome.
But by the way, if this doesn't happen, I will say this. John and I have made a lot of predictions in the past. The UFO thing and all that stuff didn't happen. Like nothing happened on the eclipse day. We have never made a prediction that there's more data behind than this one. Everything is pointing at this. If this is Lucy pulling the football out with Charlie Brown, which, by the way, it's a really interesting read if you read the history of that whole thing with Lucy and Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
If this is a football pull, there is no way I can be convinced that what we're seeing over the last 100 years wasn't planned by a massive AI, because there are too many moving parts. There's I don't believe a human faction can put this show together. If this is a rug pull, if they pull it out and this doesn't happen, there's so much shit leaning on this. That means an AI would have figured out the most confusing way to fool the population, which is super advanced.
I would already say that that's believable without.
Well, I mean, we can get into that in future episodes. John and I have gone back. Technology is not what it appears to be. And I'm not talking about, jump stations to different galaxies or any bullshit like that. I'm talking about actual stuff in history where you can see patterns, just like we found everything else. There's no reason why the technology couldn't have been developed far before we think it was.
We originally found breadcrumbs about AI and stuff like that in a book called The Future of Eve, or The Future Eve.
Yeah, The Future Eve.
French guy in 1885, and it was about building. It was the book that coined the word android.
Yeah,
that was basically NLP. So anyway, that's a whole.
Yeah, that's a whole. Nobody's gonna believe that shit.
Well, hold on to it, because that's exactly why I would want to do a show with you guys on it, and that kind of leads me into what this is going to change the subject again. Am I interrupting any thoughts? Can we stop with the theory and do it again next time? Okay. I want to ask all three of you as my friends. This is kind of like letting everybody that's in the audience kind of into the backstage thought process that I put into this show. I want to take a vote because Ivan, I saw mentioned in the comments here just a little bit ago, right? And Ivan Raiklen, my personal opinion on him is that Ivan has a role, and I respect Ivan for his role. But there's another aspect, and this is what I want to ask you guys about. So there's a few requirements that I have to have you on my show as a guest. The first of which is that I don't believe in groupthink, right? And I'll give you an example. I love Clay Clark. I think what Clay Clark's doing is amazing. However, I stopped taking his interviews. That is not a disrespectful thing. It's only because of basically like a mission that I have, which is to stay outside of the groupthink. Clay Clark, I'm not hurting him by doing that because he's already on 90 other people's podcasts, right? I'm going to the last event and I'm going to go. I literally bought tickets. I didn't ask for help. I paid for the tickets, which I can't afford because I really want to be there to support not only that, but meet everybody in the movement. I believe in him, but I'm not hurting Clay by standing by what I believe. So to be on this show, you just have to not want to be part of groupthink, have an open mind with love and respect, be well researched. You guys are all that. It's the Feisty Cats, the Stormy Patriot Joes, and Absolutes. All the people that I have on the show all stand up to that questioning, right? These are all people that think outside the box and love through and through this movement. Ivan's kind of like in the middle for me, right? So Ivan's got his role, and I love and respect everything about him. I want to know if the people, if you three think that I should, because he's offering to go on anybody's show right now, right? And when I said yes, absolutely, I'll email you. A bunch of people told me not to do it, and I didn't really understand why. So I prayed about it and I meditated on it, and I'm about 90% there to my decision. But I wanted to pose it to you guys and the chat. Should I ask Ivan, because he's obviously tip of the spear in this movement, at least in his role. I think it might be a great conversation, but I also want to stay true to myself at the same time, right? So I mean all that with the utmost love and respect. What do you guys think on that, now that I put it that way?
I absolutely think you should have him on. I mean, I've talked to him once. He's an interesting character, and I use the word character for a reason. I think he's playing a role. I mean, what that role is meant to be, I don't know. Maybe he's just a shit stirrer. I really don't give a fuck what his role is. Just have him on, because it can go in like 1,000 different directions in no time at all.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that follow Ivan right now that haven't ever heard your thoughts.
Yep.
That's a consideration, but I'd have him on for sure. I think he's absolutely playing a role, because I don't think there's any deep state anymore. but it's supposed to appear that way. Has to be a duality here for most of the seagrass to understand.
Yeah, the seagrass won't understand a story where there isn't a good guy and a bad guy.
You guys are everybody's seeming to agree. I'll email him right after this if that's the case. Go ahead, Paul.
I would have him on if for no other reason than to merge the viewer bases. You know, your viewers will see his stuff, his viewers will see your stuff, and then people can decide what they want to follow or monitor, as it were. I mean, Ivan, there's a reason Ivan's there with all the data he has, and there's a reason he's behaving like he is, and I think it's going to probably be pretty important in the future. But yeah, I can't see a reason not to have him on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I came to through the prayer meditation I just referenced a few minutes ago. I just wanted to see what you guys had to say. So yeah, if everybody's in agreement, then I'll send him an email, because obviously Ivan is, like I said, I look up to the dude for who he is and where his role in this whole thing. I would love to have the conversation with him. I just wanted to stay true to, I kind of think that way about everybody that I have on. And I'm not right or wrong either, just so everybody knows. It's just my process. So when I decided to do the show on my own, that's kind of what I decided. Nobody's ever going to tell me what I can or can't say. Nobody's ever going to tell me who I can and can't be friends with. And I'm going to try to stay as far away as I can from groupthink, unless it's what I believe to be the truth, which is cool, because hopefully in the end, everyone will agree with us, right? So there's the ultimate goal of us taking back this country. So unity is the mission at the same time. So it's a hard one. I do a lot of prayer and meditation over it.
Well, here's another thing for you, Joe. He's another one of those people that watches us, like Boone Cutler does.
Yeah, I agree.
So it would be really interesting to see how much he's already studied some of what you put out there, because he's a what's the word I'm looking for?
I've talked to him once before on the old show I was on.
Okay. Well, then have him on again. I mean, he'll be a riot. He'll be an absolute riot.
All right, that's good advice.
Can I address? There's a dude in chat, Thor5, I think it is, and he jumped in and was like, "You're wrong. By the way, you needed a apostrophe in there." But you said you're wrong, and then you explained that, well, there's a different message in that Deadpool drop. Okay, that's cool. I'll look into it, see what I see. I would say that whatever you would put forth and say, I might go, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Maybe, possibly. For you to come in and go, well, you're wrong. How can you have a thought like that? And nobody knows for certain. So I don't think it's a productive mindset.
Yale.
Yeah.
Don't be Thor.
I love Yale.
Sorry, Thor, for calling me out. I was going to do it in the chat, but
I want to answer this one too. Sorry, you guys want to agree with this one I'm doing anyway. So I watched Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson actually, look, I'm always going to be completely honest and completely gracious when that is due.
You're
Derek
muffled.
Johnson. All right. Well, then I'm going to wait for a second. Am I fixed yet?
Yep, you're fixed.
Okay. I want to be clear on this. Derek Johnson, whether I agree or disagree with anything he said, gave me basically my first boost as far as people seeing my content. And I will forever be grateful for that. Derek came on with me through a mutual friend 2 times very early on the show I was on prior to this. And both times he brought many, many, many eyes, right? So we went from like 130 people watching our tiny little show to, at one show, had 20,000 views.
Wow.
You want to talk about, and this was before, I'm telling you, nobody knew us at all. Nobody knew us. We had this little core group, and we were happy talking to our little core group, and it was cool. And Derek, through a mutual friend, Tattooed Mama, if you're out there, shout out, girl. She knew Derek, and Derek decided to come on with us, and the show was typical Derek. He did his thing, and he brought a lot of people with him, and a whole lot of them stayed and they watched our show after. I got nothing but good things to say about the way he handled that. Now, the flip side of that is, I'm not even going to talk about his work at all. the flip side is once my account hit 150,000 people, Derek Johnson blocked me. I don't understand that. So it's like you want to help people, but then once you grow to a certain point, you don't want competition or something. I mean, I don't know how to look at it any other way. So we had very similar views from the beginning. I don't still to this point, if somebody were to tell, if he were to come because of what he did for me, I don't care what people think of people. The traits that he showed me and his willingness to help, that show at the time meant everything to me. I'm a loyal to a fault type of dude, right? You guys could say something completely outside the range of reality in my mind, and I would not destroy you for it, ever. And Derek did some very, very good things for me. So I am not going to ever, I'm not going to be, like I talked about Phil earlier, that's even outside the range of what I would typically do. Publicly, anyway. With my friends, I make fun of Phil Carluski all the time. But with Derek, I'm saying he legitimately helped me, and I still legitimately have respect and love for him for doing so. I'm very confused as to why he would block me just because my account got big. That's weird. That's weird. We didn't have any interaction or anything. He just did it because, I don't know, somebody asked him. Somebody let me know why. Because if Derek was capable of having a conversation where we could go through some of these things and still love and respect each other at the end, I'd still have Derek on. That's the truth.
But there's no reason why you shouldn't. I think Derek is from the people I know that have met him, seems to be a very nice guy, seems to be a good guy. My issue with Derek is that when he puts stuff out that is easily verifiably false.
Yeah.
So when he says a statute says this, an EO says that, if I've been blocked because I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what this says at all, and you're implying that this EO is really vast and broad. It was recently, I can't see his shit anymore, but other big pundits were putting out there was an EO that Biden did, and all these pundits are like, look at this.
Oh, everybody was saying it. It was maddening.
Yeah, Joe Biden has delegated presidential responsibilities to the Secretary of the Treasury and the Secretary of State. Oh my God, he's given them the presidential powers. Well, slow down, Speed Racer, because
that's normal.
because if you go and look at the EO itself, yeah, it says I delegate these responsibilities, specifically 101 sub C, sub D, and sub F to the Secretary of Energy or whatever it was. And then you go and you look up the law, because it's all under this particular law. If you go look at the law, what the law is, I'm not even recalling exactly, but the things that he delegated to those guys were presidential reporting obligations that were statutorily written. So it says the president, not more than 60 days after the end of the year or whatever the hell it is, needs to come and present to Congress. Okay. President doesn't want to go do a report in front of Congress, so I'm going to have my Secretary of the Treasury or Secretary of State or Energy or whoever it was. And the problem is these pundits are out there saying, well, this is what this means. Oh my God. Really? Read the fucking law. That really pisses me off. That cheeses me off so much, because that's all the same thing with the Smith-Munt Act. And I rant on this one every time too. Sorry.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that we live on a planet with 7 billion people. There's always going to be an infinite supply of people who have misinformation or a misunderstanding of something. And because of human nature, everybody's got this huge ego and they're running around saying, I know I'm right, blah, 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 blah. Right. And then you add this whole thing about monetizing a podcast. And now it's your money if you're perceived as right. So then you start doing all sorts of deceptive shit and trying to find the most controversial crap to spew, whether you're right or wrong. And so the way I approach it is, I've met Derek Johnson in person a couple times, and I've had conversations with him, and he seems like a really good guy. Does he get it wrong sometimes? Yeah. Is it intentional? I don't know. I just don't care, because I ignore other people. I monitor everything, and I come to my own conclusions.
The problem isn't being wrong. The problem is the inability to allow people to have a productive conversation with you over the points where you might be incorrect in that moment.
I mean, this guy Thor is in the comments like saying, "Oh, you said that if this doesn't happen, then the whole thing's planned by AI. You're wrong." And I would say, guess what, Thor? Neither one of us know whether that's true or not.
I agree. So I saw Thor.
That's what both of us should be saying. Because when you say, no, you're wrong, when you actually don't know, you're just kind of being a dumbass.
Atlanta Peroni, we interpret things differently based on our perceptions. I'm talking about when somebody is quoting a statute and an EO and saying, this is what it means. There is no perception involved. It is black and white. It is this and it is fact. There is an interpretation of a black and white statute like that. I mean, there may be with the Supreme Court and whether or not Biden can do what we think he's going to do.
At the same time, I see their point. I'm not saying you're wrong, John. In my opinion, you're right over the target. But some things you can read and interpret differently than someone that reads the same thing. That's just a thing. The problem becomes when you read something and interpret it a certain way and present it a certain way, and then tell anyone that interpreted the same thing they read differently that here's the block button. That's just weird. That's just weird. Why isn't there not enough love and respect within this movement that we can have these conversations? Because I'll be honest with you, about 95% of what me and Derek Johnson say, very, very similar. They're very, very similar. So that's probably, if I had to guess, that's probably why I got blocked, to be honest, because 5% of it we don't agree on. And that's okay in my eyes. As you notice, I didn't block Derek Johnson. It's that 5% that I believe that we should be talking about. And I'm just making numbers up, right? It might be 20%. I don't fucking know. But the point is, the ego should be left at the door. And that's not even a stab at Derek. It's the confusion. I don't understand why he would block me. We agree on almost everything.
Ego is just your emotional self wanting to be loved.
This is a good point. So, like I said, I had two 2-hour plus interactions with Derek, and he was really cool, and he brought lots of people, and he helped me personally. He helped me, and he helped Brainstorm. Brainstorm has half of their followers right now because Derek Johnson was on there over 2 years ago. If you noticed, most of them don't watch that show anymore. That is what it is. It's what happens, right? You get this huge follower base, and then a certain amount stay and hang out and watch. Well, that's what's happening over there. It's just like now we've built this show, and it's fairly new. So not only is the base watching, but then they're also sharing it to friends. That's why you'll see that the viewership is above. Well, who knows? This might settle out there once it goes to a certain point. But Derek Johnson's responsible for most of the viewers, most of the people that are subscribed to that channel over there. That is just the truth. It's the truth. It's also why they're not all watching the show. It is what it is. But Derek and I don't agree on everything. That is okay. In my opinion, that's the authentic part of it. We should be able to have these damn discussions. And if somebody can ever get that message to him, I'd still talk to him. Somebody ask him why he blocked me. I don't know. Is it because we agree on things and you think I'm stealing your content? Or is it because we disagree on things and it discredits the couple things we disagree on? I don't know which one it is, but I'd love to find out. I would love to hear that. Somebody tell me. I didn't block him.
You'll find that the most successful people are the people who don't listen to everybody around them. They just decide what they're going to do and they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say they don't listen. They don't necessarily take what others say as gospel. They forge their own direction. They do it. Like if you go talk to Tucker Carlson, I've never talked to him, but I would imagine that he'd just say, no, I do what I want to do. And tons of other people tell me stuff. I mean, I ran a company for 35 years and I'd go to these trade shows and we'd always have customers coming up and say, if you did this, you double the size of your company. And because I've been in the business for decades, I knew the reason why we weren't doing that. And this person obviously didn't. And so I would just say, well, you should start a competitor and put us out of business now.
Yeah, that's enough. I don't want to talk bad about people because, like I said, I'll never talk bad about someone I respect without giving the side that I respect. And there's a level to Derek that I don't love, and there's a level to Derek that I respect and am grateful for. So that's just is what it is. That's the truth.
I wasn't just talking, making that point. It wasn't just Derek. It's a lot of big pundits. And maybe they're doing it because they were trying to get followers, which would be the wrong reason for making a statement and then not going back to correct themselves. Look, every time Paul and I have been wrong. How about the aliens? How many hours did we do that show? We predicted aliens were going to show up on the clips.
I want to say this point, right? You guys add to this list, but think of like really X-22, and we know, right? These are hundreds, thousands of Badlands, right? Think about these huge followings. None of them say the exact same thing,
right?
And a lot of them, most of them, have a base that is very similar in what they talk about, and all of them have the goal of saving the country.
Yeah.
So why can't we understand that and have the conversations? Why can't we? Derek Johnson's a huge personality in this movement, whether you like him, agree with him or not. It's the truth. And if he could understand what I just said about all those huge following type accounts, then we should all be working together. What the hell? Why aren't we?
Well, incentives get in the way. When people start getting competitive or they start, poaching each other's scoops, I'm going to act like this is my information that I dug up and not mention the guy that actually spent all the time digging it up. I'm not very protective over stuff that we figured out because I just don't care. I didn't do it to get credit. Mm-hmm. But we do see, like, recently we had some user on, was it Truth Social, John?
No, it was on X. Nobody else has been posting countdowns, and this person started doing it on like day 6 or day 7.
Yeah, my initial reaction was just ignore it, but it actually was just kind of weird that someone would do that. Like I would never just repost someone else's stuff just to gain favor with people who watch my account. Like you can probably tell me I don't care about favor anyway. I say some really awful stuff.
I'm giving ideas all the time. All the time I'm influenced by what someone else showed me or found before me. And sometimes I'm like, damn, that's awesome, and share it just that way. And I write hat tip to who found it. It's that simple. Yeah. And a lot of times what they'll say triggers something in me and my research, and I'll present it my way and still say hat tip because that person sent me down that rabbit hole or researching in that direction in the way I presented it. Why is that so difficult to just include everyone?
Yeah, I just repost their stuff most of the time. Like if I see a tweet or something that has a really good point, I'll just repost it with no attribution or anything. It's like, no, it's
very confusing. The ego part confuses me.
Well,
it's confusing.
Yeah, I think to be an adult, you have to lose your ego.
Yeah.
If you have an ego, you're not an adult yet.
That does come with age. That's true. And some people, like maybe some of the ones we were talking about, are very I mean no disrespect when I say this, but it comes with age. So a lot of people are, younger minded or not to their full maturity yet. Maybe I'm probably not, right? There's levels to this.
I think if kids are raised in the right philosophy, you can get rid of a lot of the ego very young and actually have a lot of wisdom imparted. But I don't think that's the norm by any stretch of the imagination. I think that, especially in the United States, the culture that we have here is just, it reinforces all of the impulses that are horrible for being a wise adult.
Can I point one thing out that's relevant to this, Joe? Look in the StreamYard chat. So I don't care if you guys go to my thing or not, but this just happened yesterday. I decided I wanted to post a video that always makes me laugh without fail. I've had it for like 2 or 3 years. And I opened the video up and I'm like, well, hat tip to whoever created this. And then I'm like, wait a minute, there's a watermark. So I gave him a hat tip and I put the video in. The video is funny to watch. It needs sound.
Should we watch it? Should we get
Yeah, this one's really good.
I am not gay. I have relationships with women and sex with men.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
And here we are.
I am not gay.
Steven voiceover.
So here's the funny thing. So I got a message from him after I posted that. Not only he liked it, he followed me, and then he sent me a message. And I'm just like, well, that's really cool. And this guy's a genius, by the way. I never knew his channel. I just had this video sitting in my meme folder, and absolutely hilarious. But see, it's like hat tipping somebody like that. He created it, not me. And if I don't know who it is, I'm going to say, well, this isn't my meme. You can pretty much assume that almost every single meme on my feed, I stole it.
You stole it.
Yeah.
You know what? Like these people who are stealing other people's content, if they would spend their energy creating content instead of looking for content to steal, then they wouldn't have to steal content. But they're also insecure that they don't think they can. So they think they have to cheat the system in order to get ahead because they think that's what everybody does to get ahead. And that's just a really malformed, immature stance on life. Like, make yourself better, do your own thing, and other people will go, wow, look, there's a person doing their own thing.
So how about this though? Okay, so this is typically what I've done. I'm not very good at video production. I'm not good at any of that stuff. I have an archive of basically everybody's stuff. And sometimes I've put posts out where I said, this video blows my mind. Who did this? Right. And a lot of people, this happened with Q Time. And someone was like, Q Time did that. Right. And then there was another person that said, JFanon did a version of that. And they all told me. And then we got to like, to show everybody's different versions of the same thing. And that was really cool. That was a fun post. But a lot of times what I do with my stuff is if I don't scream, if it's not recent in the past 2 years, if it's recent in the past 2 years, you can pretty much guess that I screen recorded it myself and I made my own post. But a lot of times if it's older than 2 years, which I've done a lot of because I've touched a lot on the inauguration and 25,000 National Guard, those videos I didn't pull them, I didn't make them, but my content, what I will say about them is my own, right? And if I know who made that video, I will hat tip video creator at the bottom. If I don't know who made that video, which there's hundreds in my archives that I have no idea who pulled it, right? I just don't. So I don't hat tip then. I just have no idea. Do you think that that's distasteful?
No.
It's like I've reposted tons of stuff like videos that I've seen because it was helpful or I felt it was helpful. And honestly, if you create something like Joe M, you know, how many times has Joe M's videos been shared with no attribution to Joe M, right? Joe M, when he made those videos, clearly wanted to just help people understand. Yep. And so Joe M's not going to take offense if you share it.
No.
Right. But when you're, I mean, we've seen people out there take other people's ideas and then present it as their own and literally come right out and say that they figured this out, and they're cutting and pasting the wording from someone else's post. It's really bad.
That part pisses me off.
Yeah, that's
you should at least use your own discernment and write your own message, right? Like I'll pull, for example, Donald Trump said things before I was involved. I will find a clip of Donald Trump talking. Well, I didn't screen record that, but I have thoughts on it. So I give my own thoughts with the clip. Well, I have no idea who pulled that clip. So I can't necessarily say like hat tip to anybody because to me, it's just Donald Trump's words. Somebody caught it earlier than me, and I'm not telling you what I think in hindsight, 2020 vision, looking back at what he said. So I don't have a problem with that personally, and that's why I asked if y'all think that's distasteful, because I've done that a lot. I've done it a lot.
No, I don't think so.
Everything's about intent. You know, if you're intending to help the world, I think that comes through. Yeah. And if anybody's bitching at you because you stepped over a line, just, you know, say, gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Should I post it again with attribution? I'm perfectly happy to do that. You know, I kind of funny. I avoid this by doing things like writing a technical analysis of Fox and Socks, because everybody's so afraid to do that nobody will touch it with a 10-foot pole. So there's another strategy. Just go so far out on the other side of the world that nobody will touch it.
Well, nobody's actually attacking me at all. I was just talking about that stuff for the sake of open conversation, because I haven't. I think if you give credit as much as you can, as much as you know, right? As long as you're not doing anything intentionally, then then by all means, continue to help the movement. That's how I feel.
I wish somebody would steal my Smith Month thread and post that.
How many times have we pointed that out? It's like 100 times we've pointed out that these people, like there are law firms with legal analysis on Smith Month that are just flat out freaking wrong. Like those lawyers didn't even read the law, and they're all over the place. And because nobody reads it, everybody just parrots the same line. Oh, it was illegal to have propaganda. No, it wasn't.
Never.
Read a book.
All Smith Month ever did from 1948 until at least probably 72, there were some minor restrictions placed on it, but it was an act to have to do with the material propaganda that was sent out to other countries. It didn't ban anything domestically. It did say that anything produced for a foreign country could not be shown to the U.S. Well, it was pretty silent about stuff that was produced in the U.S. for the U.S.
There's a specific clause in the original 1948 Smith Month Act that says that the act cannot affect any other section of government other than the newly created body to do foreign propaganda. So it specifically excludes the rest of the entire government from the Smith Month Act.
Yeah, I think that was the standard stuff where you say, look, nothing in this act should be construed to conflict with any other law or whatever. But still, nobody reads it. No, people just they take what a pundit says and they run with it and go, oh my God, Joe Biden delegated these things to all of his powers. No. Smith Month, Obama was the one who repealed it. No.
It's funny to watch this because just nobody's actually digging in and figuring out what the reality is. They're just parroting what everybody else says. It's, I mean, maybe the point here is to show everybody that that's what everybody does so that everybody realizes how dumb it is to listen to other people instead of looking into it for yourself.
Liege posted, one day I said something to a guy and later the same day someone called on the phone, was told that person had the idea that I told the guy and very quickly wrote and posted the article not to have it stolen. Yes. That's the genesis of what, anyway, sorry.
Look, we all influence
the
other.
thing.
We all influence each other. I'd be lying if I said some of what Derek posted didn't influence me. It did. It sent me to look at things, right?
Yeah, it's human nature.
I went and looked at a lot of things because of Derek, especially because he came on my show. I was so grateful for it. But that goes for everybody across the board. Stormy Patriot Joe has had more influence on me than I could possibly tell anybody, right? You guys, everybody that I talk to and interact with influences me in a way. I take it or I leave it. I use it to research, whatever. Until we all realize that, none of us have the patents on the truth or what's been happening in front of us. Once we realize that it's taken all of us to get to this point, once we realize all that, we can continue this process with love and respect, period.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So I'm going to start the wrap. We're pushing almost 3 hours. I don't want to go too long. We'll start getting people to not watch the whole thing. But let me do this first before we get to you guys. There's a couple Rumble rants that I missed. I believe I got them all if I say these two, but Les Cush over on Rumble said, it was the great Thomas Wichter who first introduced the devolution theory and PEDS on February 1st, 2021. Yes, Les Cush, I believe you're right. And not only are you right, but John Patel Patriot himself has said that. He stopped posting on it, I think, if I understand correctly, because he didn't want to interrupt the plan. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But John himself has said that. That's what sent him on his rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think John even said that Wichter asked him to not post it or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember what the details were, but John has acknowledged that a lot of the original stuff.
Yep. Yeah, he said that's exactly what sent him down his rabbit hole. So Les Cush again, see Thomas Wichter's February 2021 thread on Telegram at Magic 8-Ball Redux /122051. So just if you, I'm not going to say it 3 times, but if you want to hear that and go look for yourself, just rewind this and listen to me say it again until you can write it down or whatever. But yes, I agree with you, Les Cush. And John actually has said that himself. So that's true. And I believe that wraps up all of the Rumble rants. If I missed anybody, it was not intentional. I'm grateful for all you. And I don't know how many of these pills I called out and how many I didn't. There might be a few here at the end. Believer, Gift of the Shades, thank you very much. Believer again with the can. Much love for you and the friends. Love us. Froggy emoji, thank you again. Believer, you're on fire over here supporting the show. Whole piles of them. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, and for anybody finally starting to check us out over on pill.net, the numbers were pretty good today, being that we've only done a few of the new 51 episodes over there. Thank you very, very much. Let people know that we're hanging out again. The show's separated, kind of just is what it is, and we're doing our own thing over there now. So on all platforms, if you could hit the positive affirmation button on Rumble, it is a big fat thumbs up. I see 128 of you did it already. Thank you. The red pill over on pill.net. If you're watching on YouTube, please share the show out, hit that thumbs up. Over on X, if you could throw a comment in there, share the show out. I appreciate all you, and it means the world to me to have you guys all sitting here. I would love to go around the horn, and if you guys have anything coming up or that you'd like to promote, whether it be a Substack or just your handles, we'll start with you, QAG, if you're there, buddy. You want to let everybody know where they can find you or about your website?
I'm at QAG News on Truth Social and X. I'm rarely on Truth Social, just so you know. QA, the website is qag.news. And for those who want to drop links on Twitter, you can use nothing can stop what is coming.news, because qag.news is still banned there.
Yeah, I noticed that every once in a while. When I click on that, it says that I need to use a different search engine or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually have a third search engine set up on my phone just so that I can use the QAG app. Yep. All right, Paul, you want to go ahead and let everybody know about your Substack, where they can find you?
Yes, I am there. Sapioplex.substack.com is where the articles we've written exist. I would recommend reading them from the oldest to the newest, but because it kind of gives you a sense of our progression through the last year and a half of figuring this stuff out. If you read it in reverse order, you're just going to think we're crazy. You may also think we're crazy anyway, and that's okay.
We are. We're certified.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be crazy to figure this stuff out, which I don't think people in general have figured out yet. You when Q says expand your thinking, you ain't kidding. It's way bigger than Anons realize. So anyway, yeah, and I'm on Truth and X as Sapioplex.
My man. And for anybody that's unaware, I just released the scratching over on pill.net. John, you want to tell everybody where they can find you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm there. I can't. I'm on the screen. JF_anon on X and JFanon on Truth. Yeah, go see the articles that Paul and I wrote. It'll just reaffirm your assessment that we're nuts. Now I'd be remiss. What's that?
GNUT. We're nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, good God.
I would be remiss if I didn't share this photo on. This is Paul's birthday. Can you see it well enough? The whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was within an hour of when I put my finger in Viva Frey's chest and said, "You are a badass," and he laughed his head off because I went up to him really intimidating.
Well, happy birthday, buddy.
Well, thank you.
It's your birthday today?
Yeah, it is today.
And I just found out now, you weirdo.
It is my sweet 16th anniversary of my second 21st birthday.
Oh, mama.
I wish I'd have known. I'd have pulled some clips to say happy birthday.
Well, that's why I didn't tell you.
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on.
No.
I'm pulling one for you. No, we're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Hold on. I can't sing. Mama, I'm sorry. I can't sing. I can't carry a tune in a bucket.
I made another successful transit around the sun. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
Hold on. We're not getting out of here without singing some sort of song to you.
By the way, in case the viewers don't know, this is a sample of why some people won't listen to me. Do people know that your butthole is 8 months older than you are? It's real. Look it up.
Develops first.
First and best feature.
Here's a thought. Here's another odd thought. This occurred to me like 20 years ago. One day I was walking around looking at, just in a crowd of people, and I realized every single person is, you know what I'm going to say, Phil? Represents one guy's orgasm.
Yes. Oh gosh.
That's so messed up.
Expand your mind.
I got to go to Walmart after this, and you just made that a completely new experience.
Prove me wrong.
I got two. I got two before we get out of here. You ready, Paul?
Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Nealon. Our top story tonight. It appears that happy birthday wishes are in order. We are monitoring things closely as details continue to come in, but it seems... Yes, I have confirmation. We're talking about you, Paul. Happy birthday! I'm not sure why you get the credit. Seems to me like your mom did the heavy lifting that day. Our team has discovered footage from one of the many celebrations taking place in your honor. That's just the stuff we can show. Now for some deeper analysis, let's go live via satellite to our special guest commentator, Other Kevin. Other Kevin, what are your thoughts on all this? Speechless, Kevin. Wow. Just wow.
That's
insightful as always. Thank you. Well, I'm now being told that we are out of time and that I should pull this lever. I'm Kevin Nealon. Thanks for watching. See here, Jimmy. Nice bump.
the hot dog walking in.
I bet you didn't know I could do that so quick.
Wow, that's freaking brilliant.
Why?
How'd you do that? My God, you got Kevin Nealon to say Paul's name?
I know. You believe how good I am? Hold on.
Some guy wrote the software to put those together.
I got one.
Got another one?
It's your birthday today. It's your birthday today. Rock and roll, let's celebrate. We lose control and you cut the cake. The night is yours. Destiny awaits. Always
Deep Sir. This is you. That thing's yellow.
It's your birthday today. It's your birthday today. Grab your goodie bags. Open your gifts. Blow out your candles.
Oh God.
That's awesome.
All right.
Joe, I don't know how you do it, man. Mad skills. That was amazing.
I bet you didn't know I could do that.
When we were doing the countdown, I was just, if it didn't happen, I was just going to tell people, oh, yeah, it was my birthday.
All right. Well, this has been awesome. Look, please support the sponsors that support this show. So go to Epic Minerals, promo code Rambo. Same thing for Mike Lindell at mypillow.com, promo code Rambo, and kofefi.coffee. Buy yourself some Rambo roast, but please feel free to support any of the guys on that project. With that, I don't have anything scheduled yet. Next week it's my one tough week out of my 4-week rotation. So the only day I have open is Friday. I fully intend on asking Feisty and Sarge to come on first and foremost, because they are the regulars just like these guys are. And we haven't gotten to talk to them in a couple weeks. So I'm going to see if they're available. If they're not, we'll get somebody online here. I got a whole list of people I'm trying to get in the show. And school starts in just about a week and a half. As soon as that starts, depending on my rotation, we will be doing sometimes 4-5 shows a week. So this list is going to get run through very quickly. There will be lots of content on this channel. Please share it out with your friends. If you love these guys, hit that positive affirmation button. And as always, thank you very, very much. Phil, it's always an honor. I hope to get a show together with you so that we can show the guys that haven't seen a tutorial on qag.news if how exactly to use that site, because you got some amazing search options on there.
I got some crazy search options on there too.
See how I just put you on the spot though? Now you have to do it.
We'll get it sorted out.
My man. All right, awesome. All right, I absolutely love you guys. Love you guys all out there in the chat, and I will see you on Friday. You will find out between now and then whether or not it's going to be Feisty Cat and Sarge or somebody else. But I hope it's them. So we'll see. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys. This has been awesome.
Bye, Joe. Bye, everyone.
All right.
All right, got to find the outro. Peace.